welcome to a football podcast. I am Christian Jack, joined as always by my co-host, the lovely, sober Stephen Caldwell. On today's live podcast, we will chat the London derby. Tottenham's title run is over. Sorry, producer Sean, it is now over. I know you thought it was over at the start of the season. We are now finishing them off. We're going to talk about another Miguel Almiron standing ovation in the Premier League, Barcelona against Real Madrid, Toronto FC chat, Canadian Premier League chat, Algarve Cup, and the Women's World Cup. And of course, the headliners. We are lucky to have Bekker, Manny Aparicio, Carmelina Mascoto, Jonathan Osorio, Justin Morrow, and of course, Luke Wileman, all joining us here tonight on stage here at the Rivoli in downtown Toronto. We want to make sure we thank a few people here who have made this show happen. Thank you, first of all, to the Rivoli, wonderful hosts again, Homestand Sports, New Balance for keeping us looking sharp on stage. There you go.
Loving this hoodie top.
New Balance, thank you very much. Before we get to it, we want your questions at the end of the show. So make sure you log on to Twitter and use hashtag AskAFP. Sean will pick the best of the bunch and call you up to the show. And guess what? You get a little prize as well and get to ask your question. Pick good questions because the rest of the audience, they're going to be pretty shy. They're going to be slamming you for your questions. But be brave, be bold, and come up with some great questions. All right, let's get right into it. We were on TSN yesterday afternoon for the Premier League games. We get to pick games as we usually do when we have a couple of games simultaneously. I obviously said you can pick your game if you like, and you picked Chelsea versus Tottenham. And in the end, it worked out to being too late to say sorry for Kepa because he was on the bench.
Yeah.
And the game was dominated in the build-up to it without being the goalkeeper. And then in the end, it was dominated on the field by Chelsea. First of all, right decision by Sarri, and second of all, an overall complete performance by Chelsea, no?
Yeah, he had no choice but to leave Kepa out. I think it was a message more than, leaving out a 70 million goalkeeper. If you keep him in the team after what just happened at the weekend at Wembley, then it just allows anybody to create anarchy at any moment, KJ. And I thought it was very important. We expected it to happen just through the comments and the press conference. And in fairness to Kepa, I think you had to just take that one on the chin and accept it because it was ludicrous what he did at the weekend. It was uncalled for and something that I don't think anybody in football had seen before. Someone refusing to come off once their number came up.
Yeah, and it was like one of the biggest acts of defiance you're ever going to see from a player. I mean, we covered it on the last podcast. I don't think you would have got away with it if Stephen Caldwell was playing for Chelsea, but that meant Stephen Caldwell would have had to play for Chelsea. So,
and that would never have happened, would it? Is that the point you're making?
No, you finished it off for me. It's fine.
Well, it wouldn't have happened if I was playing because
David Luiz was doing like this little whisper.
Yeah, which was annoying me more than him being 20 yards away.
He annoys you a lot, to be fair.
He does, actually, because he's not a defender playing centre-half. But wonderful player, great in the ball, but the first thing you have to do as a defender is defend. Everything else is a bonus, and he doesn't even want to defend 3/4 of the time. But being one of the leaders of the team, he went over there and he should have been, I think, in the end, manhandling the man off the pitch.
Yeah.
It was a case of complete defiance. He felt like he was fine to go on. It doesn't matter. Once your number goes up, we've covered this already, but once your number goes up, you leave the field. You talk about it after. You've got to go. And so
it was Sarri's way of showing his authority, which he couldn't. He tried to show in the cup final, but just basically nobody gave him any kind of allowance to show the control. So finally, he had the control, and the manager has the control to pick the team, and he decided not to pick him. So we move on from that, and in the end,
well, we wonder how long he's going to be out now as well, because in the end,
you can't put him back in right away, can you?
Yeah, clean sheet for Chelsea. So you think Willie Caballero is going to start the next game, but on the game itself, Chelsea were tremendous. They've went away from Sarri ball in the last two games, of course, against a brilliant team in Manchester City. So I really understand that they are in a very, very good team in Tottenham Hotspur. But they were still pretty defensive, getting players behind the ball. But they broke really quickly. They created a number of opportunities. Their tactics were really good when Tottenham especially had the ball from goal kicks. Lloris was trying to play out as they do. The centre-halves are coming really deep, right on the goal line and trying to split, and it gave away one of their best chances for Higuain because he passed it right to Pedro, but they deserved it. They were the better team. Pedro had a wonderful second half. They were really strong, and of course Tottenham gave away that horrible goal from Kieran Trippier, he's having a tough time I have to say he's a guy who...
He's a bit like VAR, really, because he had a great World Cup and it's been a shocker since.
It's gone downhill since then. Yeah, he's a guy who's been on an unbelievable trajectory from, not making it to City and then Burnley. And
£2 million from Burnley, that's how much he cost.
Exactly, and it was a brilliant signing. And then, he gets to Tottenham and we're wondering if he's going to play, and he forces himself into the team. He's playing for England at a World Cup. He scores a goal in a World Cup semi-final. And, no disrespect to the guy, but maybe his career peaked at that point. I think it's fair to say nothing's going to get bigger than when he put that free kick into the back of the net against Croatia. And he's having a tough time. And I have to say, in my opinion, if Tottenham Hotspur are really going to challenge, if they keep Pochettino or whoever comes in, as they look at their squad in the summer, one of the guys or one of the positions they need to replace is right back. Right back, goalkeeper, and left back, and so when you see the right back in Trippier on the day, and Hugo Lloris getting into that situation. By the way, it wasn't all Trippier's fault. Where was Lloris going?
Yeah, we've covered that. Yeah,
we know that if you make a decision as a goalkeeper, central defender, anywhere back there where it's absolutely critical that you commit to what you're doing, then you have to commit. And you have to get that ball up the field. But he came half-hearted and he sort of stopped. And Trippier, again, if you make a decision as a defender, you don't go in between. You should just kick that into Rose's head, up the field, then have an argument with your goalkeeper. But it was neither nor, and it was back into the net.
Well, he was at fault for the first goal too, Lloris, I thought. Didn't you, at that point? I mean, he should save that,
Yeah, he should save it.
I mean, certainly make it a little bit more of an effort than getting beat at your near post.
Well, a top keeper saves it, doesn't
he?
So.
We're going to get into some top keepers in a minute.
It's hard to criticise him so much for it because Pedro was a defending to get in there, and it was Alderweireld, who let himself down. Normally he's better than that. I think he's had a great season, but he comes over and Pedro comes inside. So you can't blame the keeper at that moment, but a top keeper saves it. And they're the moments that the world's best, the 10, 15 best goalkeepers in the world make count, and Lloris didn't.
I agree. We've covered Chelsea a lot. I mean, they're almost the ultimate boom and bust team in world football. One week they look marvellous, and the next week you just go, wow, how do they look like that? I will say, I think Hazard's been absolutely magnificent this season. Again, he's carrying the team in some games, and I thought, again, he sets the tone for them. I do want to talk briefly about Spurs before we move on to our next game, and I think this is a good thing for them, and hear me out, because I think they were never going to win the league anyway. This is clearly a Premier League that's going to be won by a team that gets in advance of 90 points, which is, again, unprecedented time. I mean, Man City got 100 last year. We imagined that it was once in a lifetime kind of team, and here we are again. Chelsea got to 90 with Conte, and now we're going to have another elite team get to 90. For reference, Leicester won the Premier League with 80. So it's like a massive difference in quality to win that league. My point being, Tottenham are going to make the Champions League for next year. They're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, we believe. They won 3-0 at home at Dortmund. They were never going to win the league anyway. And this is now the evaluation process for any football club to evaluate your talent better than anybody else, to say, okay, in the games that matter the most, who is not making that level for us to get to the next step? So that could be, I think, a positive. The only thing I would say to counteract that and see what you think is that you don't want to start planting the seeds of doubt in Kane and Eriksen and think, all right, this is time for me to move here, because it's the Arsenal problem with Wenger after a number of years when they weren't spending the money they moved into the stadium, that players in the end want to win trophies. They want to get paid, but you want to win trophies. That's what, we've been in the game a long time, and Van Persie and Nasri and Adebayor and Sanya and Clichy and many others in the end just looked at Arsenal and said, I can get more money somewhere else and I think I can win trophies. And that would be the biggest concern for Spurs, is you don't want to plant those seeds of doubts. But if you can turn this into a positive, I do think that the areas that you mentioned, even in central midfield, they've got to look at those areas and go, how can we go next, particularly if we keep Pochettino?
It's a great point, because the seeds of doubt are in a lot of Tottenham players right now. I'm thinking,
you think, yeah.
Yes, and we could go through every single separate one. Harry Kane, Alderweireld, Ali, we could go on about them all. Pochettino, the manager himself, the seeds of doubt are there. And so the interesting thing for me is, what's the ownership going to do? Daniel Levy, and moving into this tremendous new stadium. Are they going to give Pochettino the money to go and really spend, to compete with the cities and the Liverpool, spend that kind of money, go and get a right back for 50, 60 million pounds?
Right.
or are they going to go and still stick to the model that's been very successful? Great business model. Go and buy players for decent sums of money, and then obviously sell them on for a lot more. But that doesn't win you titles, KG. And what happens is the players and the superstars that you create then at some point get antsy and want to go and play for some of the biggest clubs in the world. So we're going to find out this summer if they're ready to go to that next level, and they are willing to spend and take a bit of a risk to see if they can win the Premier League title.
Yeah, let's find out. I think the thing I would say finally on Tottenham is that, their model of success is that they found players, and we mentioned Trippier for 2 million. You can go on and on and on. They found players at such a level that was a great price for them. And they've moved that up a little bit. Lucas Moura, 25 million, Aurier in the low 20s. And then they found players, and then they doubled their worth immediately, very quickly under the tutelage of Pochettino, who's made every player better. So you take a £5 million player like Ali, and then you turn him into being, 10, 20 times worth that much. That's the successful business model, and it's worked because they've then handed them contract extensions, so their value is actually matching what they're getting paid at that point for Tottenham. But then they're still trying to stop the other people coming in and just picking the players. So the reason I say that is they haven't got any experience of signing genuine world-class players at 80, 100 million pounds. They've never done it. They've found players and they've generated them and they've created them. So that's the next step. It's not easy to do that. No. It's not easy, as we're going to get to in a second with another club. It's not easy to go out and buy, genuine world-class players. So, I don't know if you want to say anything about that before we go to the next game, but that's the next thing. If you're a Tottenham fan, are they actually good at that? Are they good at finding that player? And who is that player who can come in and make a difference right away? That's key.
Yeah, it is key, and it's a hard one, but I think it's going to have a huge bearing on whether their manager stays as well, because he has ambition and he wants to win things as well. And I think that it's going to be extremely difficult with the model that they have to compete, because City are going to go again, Liverpool are going to go again. The players and weaknesses that they have, they're going to go and spend 60 to 100 million on their players. And so you then just find yourself getting further behind, and the disharmony comes within the group, the squad. And as soon as you get Harry Kane coming knocking down your door as a chairman or as a manager saying, I want to leave.
That's heart attack material right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Harry Kane comes, knocks on your office, wants to leave, you have an heart attack. No? I mean,
absolutely.
This is irreplaceable.
But it's going to happen.
There was rumours in the press this week, Gabriel Jesus and £100 million for Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Gabriel Jesus is a great player. That's a terrible deal for Tottenham. So it's irreplaceable at this point. I mean, look, they are the prime example of how quickly you can burn £100 million on rubbish.
Yeah.
Look what they did with Gareth Bale. They made all the money on Gareth Bale, and they went and bought Soldado and all those other flops.
Yeah.
So, it goes very quickly, is my point.
Yeah.
On average players at that level.
Absolutely. And the problem is if the player wants to go,
done.
That's it, so it's not, I think they'll keep saying no to these offers for Harry Kane, but the minute he goes, guess what, I'm ready to move on, then that's a domino effect that's going to go through that entire squad. And that to me is probably keeping Pochettino for sure, depending on where his mind is. But Daniel Levy and the board of directors at Tottenham, that's what's keeping them up at night. Once that first one comes in, or he's public and he says, it's time for me to move on, I want to go and challenge for titles in Spain or Germany or England, the worst case scenario, another team in England, then the whole thing's going to fall apart, and you're asking the club and the recruitment director, director of football, whoever it is, to go and replicate the tremendous success he's just had. Not easy to keep doing that, finding these gems in Europe and doubling, tripling your money and what you paid for them. Not an easy thing to do.
Not at all. The other game we did on TSN, Crystal Palace 1, Manchester United 3, 2-goal victory for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who continues his remarkable record in the Premier League. You got a bit of stick yesterday, didn't you?
Got a lot of stick.
Was it a lot of stick?
Yeah. Well, in relative terms.
So
10 people.
All right. Well, if 10 out of 10 give you stick, that's...
I got a lot of stick because I was very vocal in what I think about Solskjaer. And
first of all,
right, okay,
we have to say it was a midweek Premier League game on TSN, and for some reason in this modern day world, we get a lot of people watching us from England. How do they do that? But they do. And so suddenly, our resident football analysts decide to annoy many people from Manchester, London, United fans. They weren't very happy with you, were they?
No, they're not happy.
And they're not happy because they love their little new toy, Ollie. Ollie, and you don't believe he's got the correct credentials for the United job.
No, I really don't believe that he has. And first, I want to say what a tremendous job he's did as interim manager.
Everyone knows that, mate.
Right, okay. But I think it's important to recognise that he's brought back key fundamentals that it takes to play for Manchester United.
That's true, yeah.
That have been lost in recent years, that were just a given under Sir Alex Ferguson. And you know, through they've been diluted through Moyes and Van Gaal and obviously destroyed by Jose Mourinho and his negativity and everything that he did to the players at that football club and tarnishing the brand in the name of Manchester United. And Ollie's came in and right away he's brought all of that back. He's reminded everyone what it means to play for Manchester United, the way you conduct yourself, the sort of pressure you're under and how you're expected to win every single game. And it's similar to other clubs around the world, but Manchester United are in the biggest league in the world and they're arguably the biggest team in the world. And so Ollie's went in there and he's brought back a confidence and a style, and he's revitalised and reinvigorated some key players, the main key player being Paul Pogba. And he's did something really simple to do that. He's let him be free and he's put him into an area of the field where he can excel, and He's told them not to worry too much about defending. He's told them to go and be expressive, play off the left at times, do a little bit defensively, get back into an area, but get the ball, drive forward, take shots, get it wide and get in the box. Look, pretty simple things for a player of his quality.
8 goals, 5 assists in 11 Premier League games.
Because he's higher, and Mourinho just put way too much responsibility on him. And then there was the feud between the two, and so however you look at it, Pogba basically stopped playing for Jose Mourinho.
Well, Jose stopped him playing in big games. He benched him.
Yeah, he benched him because of his attitude, though. And in the end, it became a battle of egos between two guys with enormous egos.
Right.
And so Ollie's came in and went, okay, I need to get this guy playing. If there's any kind of battle between even me, a legend at Manchester United, and Paul Pogba, I ain't going to win.
Right.
This is a guy that, you know, was the most expensive player in the world, a guy who's a marketing dream, playing with the biggest club, one of the most marketable 3 clubs in the world, with Barcelona and Real Madrid, and so he's going to be here. He's not going to leave. So I may as well ask him what he wants to do and try and get him playing, which was smart. And then there's the Lindelofs and the Rashfords and the many success stories. And
Herrera's been good.
Herrera's been great. Even Matic got a little bit. Everyone's got well, not everyone.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. Most players have got a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I just think to compete with Manchester United and Liverpool is going to be extremely difficult. And I don't think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I know that he's not got the tactical nous to do that. Now, does he bring in a coach that can do that, or is Mike Phelan that guy? I very much doubt it. But right now we can see a guy there who is very much taking a back seat. He's more about the PR side of things, the motivation, than he is about the tactics. And I think they're going to need more than the motivation and more than the PR to compete with the best teams in Europe and even to compete with the best teams in their league.
We're going to talk about this regularly for the next few weeks on the podcast, no question. But before we do move on to one other thing, I do think you bring up a point, and I'm thinking if the viewers in the audience or the listeners at home are listening to it, I think the one question that they would want to follow up is this. It's been reported that he's the only candidate going forward. It looks like a shoo-in. Gary Neville said there would be a mutiny amongst Manchester United fans if he didn't get it. 29 points in the Premier League in 11 games. So what are you seeing that you may think that they're not seeing in terms of that tactical flow to the game? Because he actually isn't, I mean, they're all playing better for him, but it's not like he's moved a lot of them up the field. They are still playing a very defensive. I would say they're more organised now than they were ever under Jose Mourinho this season. I mean, the characteristics of United and Jose Mourinho were that he'd sorted that defence out. They were marvellous last year, but obviously they just couldn't get any clean sheets this year. So he sorted that bit out, but you're looking for a little bit more. Am I right?
Yeah, I think there needs to be more. And maybe he's going to get there, but I just don't see it. I just don't think he is. I don't want them to go in and start playing this expansive football because they will lose games.
Right.
They're not good enough.
Which is why they didn't do that against Liverpool.
Which is why they didn't do that.
PSG.
You know, they came in, they were difficult to beat, they were tight. PSG was a little bit different. They sort of tried to go and have a game with PSG and they got embarrassed.
Yeah.
And so I think Ole, in fairness, has went, okay, we can't do that again against...
He looked shook.
They won't do it against City. They didn't do it against Liverpool, you know. Yeah. They come back in and they play a more defensive shape. But then he gives them license and confidence to go forward. So they definitely look more dangerous on the break, and they got guys playing better. But I think that they need a more systematic way of controlling the ball. That's what I believe. That's how I believe football should be played. And that's how I believe that Manchester United should play the game. That's the history of the club tells you. They play this attacking, exciting football, usually with wingers, and that's what the fans love. And I'm not certain that Ole's going to play that, and I don't think that they can win titles. Can they win an FA Cup? Yes. League Cup, Carabao Cup? Yes. But I don't think they can win titles, KJ, by playing this defensive style.
I think you're right, but I also think they might be right. I think he might be that bridge. I think there might have to be a bridge between what's been happening in the past to get back to elite greatness. And they can't forget that, by the way. It's been too far away from elite greatness if you're a United fan, because you have to remember what got you there. And maybe he's that pathway. I cannot envision Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a manager lifting a European Cup, for example. Yeah. But that's where they need to get to. And maybe he is caretaker without the caretaker title for another year or so, and then some of those flaws will start to be showing up that you're already predicting, which I think are very insightful. And then eventually they're going to go, we need this guy.
Yeah, but I firmly believe in Pochettino.
I do
and
too.
So
Sorry, Sean.
Sorry, Sean. We're always saying that. Yeah. But if he is the man and this is the time, then you don't want to miss that opportunity.
No,
because I do think once.
But where's he going to go though? If he might not leave, he might be there next year from. Do you know what I mean?
He might be, but if he goes to Spain,
they're done.
Are you ever getting him back? And that's the big thing there, And so
Real Madrid likes to sack managers, but I know
that's true.
I know what you mean. No, you're right.
Go to Barcelona as well. Nothing against Valverde, but
he won't go there though, will he?
It's tough to be Barcelona for a manager
guy, isn't he?
For so long. You don't think so?
He's an Espanyol guy. He won't go to Barca, I don't think.
Okay.
Look, we have to move on, but I can't move on without talking about your favourite Big Rum. So Lukaku gets 2 goals. You did the Chelsea-Tottenham game. I did the Man United game. We are in charge of picking roll-ins for the halftime show when people are watching at home. Lukaku misses an absolute sitter on 3 minutes. Stevie didn't see it. I'm like, can we get that clip, guys? And I don't tell him because what I
wanted my reaction.
This is just for my own personal benefit. It's nobody else. But we're in the studio for half time. Luke comes over to me. He's like, Luke, KJ's like, what do I ask you, KJ? I'm like, Lukaku struggled. He had a bit of a miss early on. And then I've got a roll in of his goal. And like, okay. So KJ, over to you. Lukaku didn't start the game well, but got his goal. I'm like, yeah, it was absolute embarrassing miss, and of course he moves up in his chair and gets ready for it. Corner comes over, and his lads could have scored the goal from 3 yards out. Lukaku hits it into row Z and beyond, and his face. The rolling's,
just look at you.
The rolling's in there, and I'm holding my nerve just talking about it. I'm like, I've got a long rolling, so I've got to keep talking about the goal, and he's just. His face is a picture.
I know he scored as well, and he scored a fantastic first goal. It was brilliant the way he opened his body and put it in the corner with his weaker right foot, and so I know the goal's there. I've seen the goal. I know the goal's coming, but when I saw the miss, I couldn't believe it.
You could actually believe it, though. He's not one of your favourites, is he?
He's not one of my favourites. I don't think that he was never one of my favourites, was he?
We did the World Cup together, and
even at Everton, though.
You're right.
Remember, I never really liked him. I always thought that he scored a lot of goals at Everton, but I always thought that
he was a flat track bully. To be fair,
yeah, he scored against the weaker teams, and he scored a lot of late goals, and nothing against him. He scored a ton of goals, and he's got the Belgian record. And
it's the hardest thing to do in the game, mate.
Right,
score
so
goals.
He scored a lot of goals, but to play for a truly elite team, you need to be able to hold the ball up, do a bit of everything, and I don't think he does that very well. And lo and behold, since he's got to Manchester United, I think he's got even lazier, and he looks like, to me, he's carrying a bit of weight or muscle. I don't know what it is, but he's not moving like he should.
He was shattered on Sunday having to play right wing, weren't he? He had to play right wing because Rashford had done his leg.
Actually, it was quite admirable the way that he tried that on Sunday, but it was on that kind of. Well, it's a difficult thing for him. He's a number 9, so to be tracking back and forward like that, I thought fair enough. He put in a shift, but he was toiling on that right hand side.
We must move on because we need to do another game, and we do want to get our friends up here because they've got an early training session tomorrow. But we need to talk about Real Madrid versus Barcelona. like the 15th El Clasico in the last 3 weeks or whatever. There's another one this weekend. And
can't wait. It's going to be great.
There's a big event in Toronto. You can follow all social media. Catherine's here from La Liga. Hello, Catherine. It was the second leg of the Copa del Rey semi-final. Another El Clasico. By the way, we'll get into Sergio Ramos a little bit later, and Oso's here. We have to talk Real Madrid with him. Yeah. But the game itself was a fascinating one. We both watched it. We did Premier League. We both watched it last night.
Yeah.
And talking about top-class goalies, ter Stegen.
Brilliant.
Marvellous goalkeeper.
Great saves, eh?
Marvellous goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a German coach right now, you're like, he's my number one goalie, by the way.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a different level.
Yes.
And it's the saves he made from Vinicius. We'll get to Vinicius in a second, but he kept Barcelona in the game. Yeah. And that's what you want from an elite goalkeeper. And at that point, when you're just a little bit on the ropes, the awareness that he comes out right away, and he's there right away. His athleticism is magnificent, brilliant with his feet, sees everything technically as well. But the saves he made kept Barcelona in the game that allowed them to go on and win in the end comprehensively.
Yeah, he's truly a modern goalkeeper. He's agile, he's quick, he's off his line, he's part of the game. He doesn't think himself as a guy within that 18-yard box expected to come for the odd cross and make a couple of saves. He's a player. He's on the field. He's part of everything that they do, and he's always been brilliant with the ball at his feet. And of course, he's always been agile, but I don't think he made enough big saves. So it's a great point to bring up, because now we're starting to see him create big moments through saves. It was always, lovely on the ball, nice passes, and I felt not easy goals went in on him, but he didn't have big moments like the truly top-class goalkeepers out there, and now he's starting to do that, KJ. And he kept them in the game, because I think we have slightly different opinions in this game, but I thought Real Madrid were really good in the first half. Vinicius was magnificent. He should have been, more clinical.
Just got called up for the Brazil squad, by the way.
Yeah, he's an outstanding player.
Yeah,
he could be their superstar going forward. I really hope that they see him more than us, but it looks like he's tracking towards that they don't curtail that or curb that in the summer by bringing in some really big guy that kind of...
Hazard?
Yeah, well, I think Hazard might be an interesting one, because I still would see Vinicius as that.
They got to play him, haven't they?
I'm thinking if the Neymar stuff's right and he comes in, Vinicius and Neymar, and how much of the limelight comes off Vinicius because of that. So maybe they go away from that. Maybe they're never on that track, but that's the rumours. And Vinicius looks like a guy who can really be an absolute superstar moving forward.
I agree. He's got a little bit of, look, this is an outrageous comparison, so please stick with it. But the Brazilian Ronaldo, the way he dribbled with his body, and he has quite a high, he's quite upright in his running style. Yeah. He's got that about him right away. He's got remarkable control for his feet. And he keeps his head up a lot of the time as well. Yeah. And he's got quite that kind of running style where you just imagine he's creating holes behind him, like he's the Hulk. It's like boom, 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 boom. It's quite unique style of a profile of a player, really. But he's got tremendous feet, and he's a gambler. What I like about him, he takes people on a lot, and a lot of times he wins. And you can still see right now he's got that bit about him where the opposition's defender doesn't know which way he's going to go yet. Yeah. They haven't worked him out. They haven't got any idea. So he's got that about him as well. He's almost improvising, but he looks like he's improvising, but he knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah,
because he can go either way. And I thought that was a great comparison there with Ronaldo, because they both have so much power and yet look so graceful. They want to get there as quick as possible, but they do it in such a sublime way that it's like poetry. It's like watching someone really beautiful, the way that they move. And Vinicius is like that as well. He gets there direct, but he does it in the most flamboyant way. And so to see his career come so far so quickly just tells you what kind of talent that they have there. It's remarkable. We talk all the time about players transitioning from different countries and what comes with that, and the pressure of playing for a Real Madrid a Barcelona or a Manchester United is just on another level. We're going to have 4 or 5 professional football players up there, and they'll all tell you the same things I'm going to tell you. You watch a player on TV, you think that he's a good player. He's an exceptional player. You see an exceptional player, he's beyond this world. You can't even believe how good they are. And so to be prepared and to be ready to play at that level for that kind of team, with everything that comes with that, at the age that he's at, tells you what an exceptional talent he is. And as long as he keeps his head on his shoulders He stays smart. He stays professional. He could be one of the best player in the world.
Yeah, you mentioned we looked at it a little bit differently. I think you thought maybe Madrid were more unlucky than I did. I thought Barcelona in the end had control of the game a lot of the time. By the way, Busquets, what a player again. Magnificent. And in the second half, Suarez, who's been a little bit under fire lately, hasn't scored any Champions League away goals for many years now. But he was there when he needed to be. Great finish just after half time. The scoreline wasn't really a fair reflection in the overall game, was it? But
no.
I think they were more ruthless than Real Madrid. Again, Messi involved in a lot of it. I thought the fullbacks were tremendous going forward. And I actually like Sergio Roberto in a 3. Had a little bit
really
more defensive stability about them as well. But in the end, they progressed and then the Real Madrid up and down, boom and bust team a little bit continues to exist. And I think Barcelona, they just overall the 2 legs. Real Madrid were very good in the first leg. Barcelona just a little bit better.
Yeah, they proved why they're just a little bit better than Real Madrid. They're gritty, they're determined, and they obviously still have incredible quality. But they hung in when they had to. They asked their big defensive players. I thought Piqué had some great interceptions, and Ter Stegen, as we said, made the saves. And then in the second half, when they got their opportunities, they really showed the flaws of Real Madrid. They're still... Marcelo's been out the team. Reguilon's a wonderful player, but...
Ramos on that goal, did you see
Carvajal, yes. So I'm going to talk about Carvajal. He got dragged right in with Dembele. He came right in. A brilliant movement from Dembele, dragged him in. And then as he spins to move in the channel, Dembele's an exceptional player. So, I'm not that... Well, I am critical of Carvajal because I don't think he should have went in, but... That's when you're asking your centre-half to come over. Come into the gap, clear the space. There was no real need for him to stay in the middle. He didn't come over quickly enough. And then, everyone was disjointed after that. Brilliant cutback, great finish from Suarez. And that, to me, was the moment that, that changed the game. Of course, the first goal, and then they started to panic a little bit. Found space on the right as well with a high fullback again, where Barcelona's forward right
wide areas were big in the game. Yeah, they were.
The fullbacks move forward and they don't cover the space well enough because the centre halves, as amazing as they are, that they stick to the centre. They're spaced down the sides, and against the truly top teams of world football, you can't get out there in time. As you're coming to try and get out, you actually just leave a space, and they pick the right pass. And I know it was an own goal, but Suarez was going to tap in if it wasn't.
Oh, he wanted it, didn't he?
Yeah, he tried to claim it.
He tried to claim it.
I thought it was his for about 4 replays till I saw the last one.
I wasn't sure either. It was a great game. Talking a bit wide areas, one of the greatest fullbacks in modern day football, Jordi Alba, signed the contract extension until 2024. So every credit to Barcelona to get that done. Okay, before we get our guests up here, let's do a little trivia. First one to shout out the right answer. I don't know if we've got a judge in the market here. Sean, you're going to be judging this, aren't you? You're going to be ready? Name the opponent the last time Jonathan Osorio and Justin Morrow scored in the same game. Anybody? Name the opponent the last time Jonathan Osorio... No. The answer is an MLS team.
I should know this. Was this when Justin Morrow got his hat-trick?
It was not. No, it wasn't. No, not Colorado.
Be quiet, Anthony.
No, not Philadelphia. Yeah, and no one... Columbus Crew is the answer. There you go. Well done, Tim.
Great shout. What a great jersey that is.
Toronto FC.
What a jersey.
Toronto FC 5, Columbus Crew 0, May 2017. There you go. So that was the last time these guys got the goal together. Come on up, guys. Let's come on up and have a chat.
All right. Thank you. I almost forgot I had to come up here. I was enjoying listening to you guys.
Were you? Well, we have to get you up here. You've got training in the morning before flying to Philly. So big start for you guys. Pleasure to have you, Jonathan Osorio, Justin Morrow. I know it's a busy week for you guys starting MLS season. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys. KJ, I've gotten to know you over 5 years of being here and traveling together. And Steven, we were teammates together. I was 26 when I came here first, and you're a great captain. Took care of us. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You guys played just over a season together.
I paid him to say that, by the way.
Just over a season together, right? 2014.
Yeah.
And then you go into the 2015 season fully expecting to play another season, and then, Captain Marvelous over there, who's no longer captain, gets injured after 2 games. And, to be honest, and I can say this, TFC's loss was TSN's gain. So we bring him over.
After that.
Exactly. So we wanted to have you tonight, not just to talk about the team that obviously employs you, but to talk about the game that we love and the game that you love and how much you're involved in it and your history here and the links to the city. But before we do talk about the big game, the big news of today is obviously Josie Altidore signed his contract extension with Toronto FC to take him for another 4 years with the club. Your reactions to what has obviously become a legend of the club, sticking around to be your teammate for a number of years.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm elated, Josie, I always think it's interesting because we have a lot of great players in our team, a lot of guys that have done great things in big moments, and obviously Sebastian was a big part of that, and he always got so much credit. But Josie, for me, he always showed up in the big moments, in the big games when the lights are on, he got goals and he made plays, and that's so important for our history of our club and our club moving forward.
And also you as well, your reaction, obviously you've been a little bit closer, higher to him playing up the field than Justin sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely it's great for me to play with a guy like that. Like Justin said, he's come up big in all the biggest moments of our club. Throughout the playoffs, he's a monster, and it's great. It's big for the club. I think I believe he's the first DP to be re-signed, which is I think is a big step, and he deserves it. He loves the city. He's reiterated, he's said it a lot to not only to the public but to us behind closed doors, because it's honestly true that he loves the city and he wanted to stay. And yeah, I'm glad that he's going to be here for the next 3 years, I think. So yeah, I'm excited.
Greg Vanny spoke today about his leadership and what he brings, being a little bit different from anybody else within the team. Tell us a little bit about that, guys. Like his personality and how he leads and what sort of influence that has on the overall group.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys can tell, but Josie's is a loud guy.
Never would have guessed.
So he's never quiet. He's always talking about something. And that's important because you need those personalities in the locker room. But Josie also is a good player that brings lots of quality and experience at the highest level. So he always demands that out of us, He's a guy that can change the game at any moment, and he keeps our standard high.
What I like about having you guys both here tonight is, and I mentioned the season that you played with Stephen for a reason back in 2014, because the club has transformed itself since then, really, hasn't it? And you guys have been a massive part of that, and in terms of what you become now. You talk about those big nights, you talk about those big games, and what Josie and what you guys were all able to accomplish. I think our listeners and our viewers here would really love to hear that what that does to a professional athlete when you win a big game like that. Because you can win a game in June, and of course the 3 points are important, but when you win a big game like you scored in the Philadelphia game, it's the very first playoff win, or when you win a game like that, what that does collectively for a group to finally look at each other the next time you go out there and play a big game, whether it be 3 days later, 3 months later, the next year, to know we've done that. How big can that be confidence-wise for a team?
Yeah, it's huge. When you win a big game like that, the biggest thing it gives your team collectively is confidence and trust in each other. So, you win a big game like that, now you can do it. Now you trust the guy beside you even more, lets you play a little bit more free and just more confident, I think, more than anything. And we've been lucky to have a few of those nights, especially in the last few years. There's nothing like winning a championship. Winning a championship, if you're united forever, no matter where you go for the rest of your life. You always remember that, and you have that that in common with your teammate for the rest of your life.
Stephen reminds Luke about that regularly, about winning that championship at Burnley.
Because it was against his team, wasn't it?
At Wembley.
I hope he's here.
Is
Wildman here yet?
Is Wileman here yet? Because These jokes are going to
We
be
could talk
boring.
about
if
that
he's
for
not.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
No, but it's a great point because there is that calmness through winning, you know, and the unity that brings, doesn't it, guys? You know, you're with a group of people and you know, you're always going to get personalities that go together and want to hang out and stuff like that. But when you win as a team, you really feel that as a group, and it gives you that inner calm and that confidence. And so when I look at you, Ozo, and you know, when I first came to Toronto and the such optimism and the promise of what you could become and the way that you developed through winning and through the tutelage of Michael beside you and obviously Josie and Seba and J-Mo and all the guys within your team, I see a calm and an assurance to your play now. Tell us a little bit about that, about growing up and becoming the player that you are and how you want to even take that forward even more in this coming season and beyond.
Yeah, I think my first year and even the first year I played with you, I was a young kid, so I was just playing the game the way I thought it should be played. I wasn't really thinking about, what if I miss this pass or whatever. So I was playing very free. And then, you know, it comes a time in your career, and it happens to everyone, where, you know, the club is going to bring guys for you to compete against. And so the club started bringing in players that I had to compete against, and it was the first time in my career at that point that I had to deal with that. And then now you're playing a game. If you mess up, you're getting subbed out. Now you're thinking about these things, and you can't play the way you want to sometimes. And I lost the confidence in myself, or the belief, I think, that I could be a good player and I could help to be an important player. And I think through winning and through playing with good players, slowly I gained my confidence. And then last year, it was the last year of my contract, so I had to go for it. And
that usually wakes you up, doesn't it?
No, but last year I think I went for it. That was maybe one reason, but another reason, you know, winning the championship the year before, and last year was tough. That 2017 was tough. I wasn't in the team a lot, and then I did everything I could. I put everything into trying to get back into the team, and I did towards the playoffs, and then to play in the final and do that, that just raised my confidence really high. And to play, I played arguably at that time my best game in my career in that game. So to do it in one of the most important games, now I think that gave me the confidence that I could do it in every game.
Justin, is that something you can relate to? Obviously, I don't think Toronto FC fans have seen the progression that they have seen with Jonathan as much, because you're a bit more of a rounded player when you came here, a little bit older as well. But is that something as a young player getting into MLS that you can relate to before you came to Toronto?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first I want to say how proud I am of Oso, because everything that he just talked about, that doesn't often happen in MLS. I've been around where a team's trying to get better and they buy new players and force the old players out, and the old players don't raise their game. And I remember the time that he's talking about in 2017 when he wasn't in the team as much. But this guy's a true winner, and he knows what it takes, and he elevated his game, and that was really cool to see. I'm really happy that he got the contract that he did, personally, because being a guy that's played in MLS my whole life and seeing the direction of the league and all these foreign players come in, it's really difficult for players that have already been in the league to get these contracts. So being someone that's already played here and being Canadian to get a contract like he did was really cool, really, really good thing, and I'm proud of him.
Appreciate it. That's so sweet. Has everybody got Kleenex out there? It was lovely.
By the way, I just want to carry on the love fest, a little small plug on tsn.ca right now. Top 5 Canadians in MLS this season, done by myself and number one's on the couch. Carry on.
I agree with that. But yeah, just being in the league and having that progression to coming here to Toronto FC and seeing the team change culture and everything. It's been a great experience for me personally, And I've learned so much about myself and about the game. And obviously, as Oso was talking about, winning, what it takes to win. And it's been a really great experience since I've been here.
There's two things I want to say in that, KG, just quickly. And first, it's
take your time. Mate.
No, Ozo is a great example to the Academy of Toronto FC, because no disrespect to Ashley Morgan or Daniil Henry or anyone else who's came before, this is the first guy that's really established himself in the first team and got that contract he deserves, and really took his game on to another level, competed with some considerable international talent to show that he deserves his place in the team, and now he's one of the first picks in Greg Vanny's team sheet. I'm pretty sure about that, and he's taking his game to other levels, and that takes great mental strength and great ability to do that, and so he deserves credit for that. And again, he's an example to everybody else out there who's, my young lads in the pre-academy, and he's an example to Will, and he's an example to all the other guys at 13 and 14 and 15, because they know they can do it now because of a person like him. And my second point is that in 2014, we signed a guy from San Jose called Justin Morrow, and it was a very important signing in a year of splash, flamboyant signings. And I'll tell you why, because it was the first time Toronto went and got a solid, and there's zero disrespect here because he's moved his game on to other levels. He's best left back in the league.
To be fair, it was a bloody big deal, to be fair.
Right. He was part of that, but he was a solid MLS guy who we found really quickly we could rely on. We knew what we were going to get from him. He was a player who was going to help take the team to another level. He wasn't going to be a guy who ended up scoring a hat-trick in the game, but he wasn't going to be a guy who's going to score every single week and be that flamboyant, that DP signing. But it allowed all of us, and we were there, to believe, okay, now we're actually getting a squad together just now that's going to compete. And these two guys took TFC to another level beyond 14 and 15 and the heartache of 16 and then the heights of 17. And they both have a very important part to play in the history of TFC, and they'll be remembered for a long time because of the part they played.
Yeah, as they should. And Justin, you mentioned Jonathan's contract extension. You came here, played at a very high level, and then you had the decision at one point to maybe move somewhere else. And there was obviously a ton of interest in yourself, as there should be, as one of the premium left backs in Major League Soccer. But talk about your connection to this city. It's become your home. You've obviously created a family here. You hear it from Josie, you hear it from Michael, American internationals. You played for the United States. That this feels like home to them. And when I think the fans hear that sometimes, like, okay, some fans of other teams just say, yeah, it's just, it's hearsay. They can say whatever they like, but it's genuine, isn't it? There's no question about it. It's as somebody who's invested in those interviews, and I have to get the best out of them to try and showcase the best of you to them. I know that that's genuine because I can see it in their eyes, and they've said it many times. But I think it's exactly the same for you, no doubt about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I came here, I was coming from San Jose. I was there 4 years, and it was straight out of college. I was still really young, really inexperienced, and I didn't, we had success there, but I didn't really enjoy my time there. And I come here, and I didn't know anything about Canada before I came here. And immediately, I just loved it. Me and my wife, we moved in on King Street when we first got here. Since then, we've been moving a little bit further and further west since our family's growing to Queen Street, to Roncesvalles now. And no, the thing that I love about here, apart from the football, which I can go on forever, Toronto FC, such a big club in MLS, and we've had success. But just living here, I really enjoy. The people here are incredible. I love that there's people from all over the world. And one of the things that took me back when I first came here, typical in the United States, is when you first meet somebody, they'll ask you, "What do you do?" But when you're here and you first meet someone, they'll ask you, "Oh, what's your background? Where are you from?" And they want to have a real conversation with you. And I thought that was really genuine. And even to this day, I think the people here are incredible.
That's a great story. As he said that, it reminded me a bit of the UK, because they do that a lot at home, don't they? What do you do? But it's about what you become. What's your story? Do you find, just to piggyback off that, do you find that your connections around Major League Soccer, people asking you regularly, what's it like there? Because not just because of what Toronto FC have become, we're a true powerhouse in Major League Soccer, but as an American, comes to Canada, do you get a lot of people asking you about that, whether they're even rumored to come here or want to come here in the future?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have a lot of friends that play throughout the league that are American, and they're wondering what it's like to live in Toronto. And obviously, they come here, to play the games, and they see the crowd, and they see the city, and the away team stays right downtown, and some of the guys will go out after the games.
Some.
None of my friends.
There's worse places to be, let's be honest. Yeah.
They're excited about it. They ask me a lot of questions.
Is that why the home form can continue to improve because they're out the night before? But,
it's a big part of our home field advantage.
There you go. By the way, the home field advantage in MLS is bigger than almost any league in the world. Did you know that?
I can believe it.
Apparently it's a 0.7 goal advantage for home teams, which is like astronomically bigger than like La Liga or Bundesliga's 0.4. So obviously the travel is a part of that.
I think travel,
partying in Toronto.
Stadiums are unique as well, aren't they? As well, you've not really got traveling fans as well, so you have no away support.
Playing in different climates.
That's what I'm saying. Climates and surfaces and stadiums and everything that goes into it. I can see that.
Yeah. Also, I want to ask you about Real Madrid. One of my favorite interviews I've done with you recently, where we had this guy was just like, he just finished the game and then the lights were about to be turned off at BMO, and he comes out and chats with me for like half an hour, and after a game we're just like, it's just great stuff. And then we talk about Real Madrid, and this is a team that's very, very close to your heart. You heard us what we had to say before. I know you'd probably like to come up here after a victory, but look, at the end of the day, you've got 4 European Cups in the last 5 years. It's not like you're not supporting Aston Villa, are you? Let's be honest. So, maybe just give our listeners a little bit of a background story, your connection to the club that you love.
Yeah, no, just as a kid, I was a normal kid like everyone. I personally love to watch football, and I watched a lot of it. And, like everybody, I watched whatever was on TV, whatever they're showing. And at the time, Barcelona, Real Madrid, like always, is a huge game. And this is during the time they made the Galacticos. And I was so fascinated with that, with just all the best players being on one team. It was amazing. So, I was just a fan of, and Zinedine Zidane's my favorite player of all time. So for him to be on there and to watch him play with Bekker and Figo and Ronaldo, and the list goes on. I was fascinated by that. I fell in love with Real Madrid for that. And as a football fan, I try to be loyal, and so that's what I've been. And so until TFC was made, Real Madrid was my team.
And it's led to some good moments over the last few years. I know we were in Mexico together when they played Bayern Munich in the Champions League last year, and I think you and Ash were watching the game together, Ashton Morgan, and it's I guess you train in the morning and then you can watch some Real Madrid games in the afternoon.
Yeah,
right?
It's great. That's the good thing about the the time zones and the difference is you go and train in the morning, and right when you get home there's a game. So I like that. I like that part. I don't know how it feels to. Well, I do, because MLS games, whatever, you wait till at night. But I don't know how it is to wait for a European game and watch that at night. I enjoy watching them in the afternoon. And then it's even worse for the guys in the Pacific. They got to wake up extra early to watch some games. So I think where we are is perfect. And I love it. I love watching Real Madrid no matter what. Yes, Barcelona plays It's funny because when I tell people I'm a fan of Real Madrid, they're a little bit surprised because of the way I play. Because my way of play, you would think like, oh, you like Barcelona more for their style, and it's true. I do like the style of Barcelona and the way they play, but I think for just the club and the fascination to bring the best players to one club, I've always been a fan of that.
Well, you got a midfield of Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro, so it's pretty good as it is, right?
It's the all-white shirt, isn't it? The shirt, the socks.
Yeah.
It hypnotizes you, I can remember Roy Keane, a guy I never got on with very well when he was Sunderland manager, in case anyone doesn't know that. But he told a brilliant story to us years ago, and he was going on, he was ranting as usual, he was frothing at the mouth and someone was coming, but he said something actually quite smart. He said Real Madrid beat teams in the tunnel. He said, when you're standing next to them in the tunnel, and you look across, of course they have the Galacticos and they have the World Stars, but it's the shirt. He says it's something about that white shirt. People see it, and the image is of winning. And so they've almost psychologically got one over you in the tunnel. And I think that's really important. And I think I can see why as a kid, Ozo, and you're watching Real Madrid and you have that affinity to them because they just always look so smart and they just look so perfect in these shirts, and then the football usually complements that.
Yeah, it certainly does. And Justin, I know you watch a ton of football as well. Often we do Premier League games and during the mornings, and then we'll come down to BMO and you have a little chat with us about watching the games and stuff. Yeah. And I always think of you as somebody who watches them to not only just enjoy it, but you believe that watching those games can make you a better player, don't you?
I do. I grew up watching the Premier League in the United States. It was probably the most visible league growing up, and even here. I watched a lot of Premier League. I'm a fan of Manchester United. And, yeah.
that was a mixed reception. You'd expect him, at least, it's not all booze.
Well, I have good reason for it. My coach at university, Bobby Clark, is a famous Scottish goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
And
Aberdeen?
Aberdeen? Yeah, he grew up at Aberdeen with Sir Alex Ferguson. To this day, they're still friends. So when I was in university, they used to talk all the time, and he would come back into the locker room and tell us stories, or we'd watch film of Manchester United. So that's when I became a Manchester United fan. And this is when they were incredible. They had Cristiano and Wayne, and I loved watching Vidic and Ferdinand, top defenders for me. So that's how I became a fan.
And now you think would you give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job?
I actually agree with Stevie. I wouldn't.
There you go. Interesting. Is that because you just still want to see a little bit more of him, or you? But it sounds like it's important. I think for United fans to remember those elite years. Is it not, to try and get back there?
I do. It's very important that he comes from the club, that he's a former player, has had success there, and like Steven said, that he's brought the spirit and the attitude and the aura back to Manchester United. But I think that if Manchester United wants to finish third and fourth, then they can go with a coach like Solskjaer. But to beat Manchester City, to beat Liverpool, you're going to need something special, and that's why I think they need to move on.
Winner's mentality right there from Justin Morrow. Don't blame you. Before we let you go, and we do want to let you go because you've got a busy weekend coming up, talking about Real Madrid, talking about Manchester United and the culture of clubs and how important that is. You guys are in the middle of really of establishing a significant culture at this club that I'm sure you guys will be fans of for many years to come post-career. How important is that for you to not only just go from game to game or so, but to know that every single day you guys are going out there establishing a top-class culture for this club that you obviously is going to be inside your heart for the rest of your life?
Yeah, it's huge. For me, especially for me being from here, I just want to represent the city and as best as I can. So every day, I come into work and to win. Like Justin said, we not only am I a winner, I'm sitting beside a winner too. And Steve, you were saying, during that time we were signing big players. Justin Morrow was one of the most important, and I think because not because he. You know what he's going to get from him every game. He's going to come in and he's going to do his job. But what I really admire from Justin is that every day he comes to get better. He lives his life very disciplined, and that's what we need at TFC. I think that's the culture we want to bring is success for a long period of time, and that's what we're trying to do here. Justin's catching up to me in appearances, and I don't like that at all. I'm
a lot older than you are. I'm not going to last that much longer, mate.
It's crazy because in my early years, whatever, I was playing and I was getting injured a lot, and then people were catching up to me, and Justin would never get injured. This guy was a machine, and I literally had to change my lifestyle because I just wanted to be number one, right? So
There you go.
And he's still catching up to me somehow. I don't know.
Well, maybe this year you both can get 34 each, then you'll be fine, right?
I hope so.
And then more for the playoffs, right? Just in a quick word on the culture.
No, just to piggyback on what Oso's saying, and not to stand up here and toot our own horn or anything, but the more winners we have at the club, and we talk about this all the time, when we come in and he's talking about fighting every day to become better, I mean, this guy and a couple other of us, we're yelling every single day in training. No, if you miss a pass, it's not good enough. If you don't make a play, it's not good enough. And the more of those guys that we have in the club, and that's what we talk about culture, the more of guys that understand that and the urgency that we need to have, the better our team will be. And that's when that culture will be established. So we've been there, and we're hoping to continue that.
I think winning is a mentality. It's not about medals. It's great to win the trophy and to win the medals, but there's only so many players and so many teams that can achieve that. And to have a winning mentality means that you live by good habits. You do the right things every single day. And with these two guys sitting here, and I know it's becoming a bit of a love fest up here, but they do it. They do it. It's not by coincidence. You don't just see them at BMO Field and Ozo scoring a goal or Justin's putting a cross in or scoring a goal himself. It's because of the hard work that goes in. And so when you're trying to build culture and you're talking about sustained success at a football club, it's about guys like this with the right habits, with the right winning mentality to take that through an entire club so that it just becomes second nature to everybody who's lucky enough to come through the doors of BMO Training Ground. And whether you're 10 years old or you're 35, you're a part of that mindset, and sustained success will come from that.
Before we let you go, couple more minutes. We do have a big part of our show is headlines, and Sean's around, and we do want you to just stick around for one more thing. Well, he just asked us one of the big headlines of the week, Shawnee.
Thank you very much. Let's get at this pretty quick, but after 2 matches at Newcastle, Miguel Almiron has left the pitch to standing ovation. Have you guys kept an eye on the player, and did you expect him to have such an impact?
Yeah, we have. We were training the other day. We were getting ready to go out to training when Newcastle was playing, and we saw a play where Almiron got in on breakaway. This was his first game, and he dinked it over the goalie, but it hit the post. And I think that was his first big moment in the match of many. And we were all really excited. We really wanted him to score. We were all sitting in the training room watching this. I think that's just MLS showing what we are and growing as a league and becoming a league that has players that are good enough to play in all these different leagues.
Yeah, we're definitely following him, and it's great to see him, in so little time being, I think he's already an important player for that club. And in the last game, he was arguably the best player on the pitch. So I think it's good for the league. I think, as Justin said, we're all rooting for him because, I think this league wants to prove that it's at the top and it's getting there. And it's players like him going overseas and it's not only making the move, but it's performing. That's very important, and that's what he's doing right now. And he's proving, it's showing that MLS players can easily, not easily, but can go overseas and play at the highest level. Newcastle
has a history of players playing in their debuts in big moments, either going for them or against them. And it really determines how successful their career can be at Newcastle. And I've saw it with wonderful players like John Dal Thomason on his debut. He missed a couple of chances and he had an incredible career with AC Milan and many other huge teams, but he just didn't work at Newcastle. And so to recognise that moment for Almiron and for it, amazing little chip over the goalkeeper and for it not to work out and to hit the post. And I just thought, I think I said to you at the time, KJ, because I just feared that he would let it affect him negatively. And then we saw the makeup of the man, what he's all about, and he just shrugged it off. 30 seconds later, he's pressing a ball down or he's getting back on it and working his magic. And it made me sort of proud. I've never met the guy. I've never spoke to him.
We're proud parents of this guy right now.
I've only watched him play, but I was proud because I was proud for the league that I love, which is MLS. And I was proud that we're now bringing in young talent from South America, and they're coming here and they're performing at a high level, and then they're showing that, and it's only been a few games, but they're showing they can go to other leagues, they can be very successful. And we're creating young talent in Canada and in the US that can do the same thing. Tyler Adams has been magnificent at Leipzig. He has the mentality to survive in Europe. These two guys maybe will, but certainly could have played in Europe in their careers. Alphonso Davies is in Bayern Munich, doing really well on the bench, coming off, playing minutes. And so we're starting to see the right mentality to succeed within strong teams in very big European leagues.
Yeah, and look, and MLS is in a complete growth stage in terms of its evolution, and they want to be a selling league now as well. They want to bring these players over, and envious eyes from scouts all across Europe are looking at Major League Soccer now. So it's good for everybody, let's be honest. And let's be honest also, there was a complete and utter lack of respect from many people in the UK when Miguel Almiron went there for over £20 million, and many pundits just saying they'd never even heard of the guy. Well, now they've heard of him. You guys have all heard of Justin Morrow and Jonathan Osorio. We're going to break here, but before we do, thanks very much, guys. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the second half of a live football podcast. Again, thanks to Jonathan Osorio and Justin Morrow, who have now gone home to their beds after telling us about their amazingly professional lifestyle, as they should. The second half of the show will continue to be just as good, and we're going to talk a lot of domestic football. We're going to have some CPL guests on shortly. Luke Wileman will be on later. A reminder, hashtag AskAFP. This is how you win prizes, and this is how you can ask us questions. So if you're in the audience, use the hashtag. Shawnee will pull you up. And as I said earlier, be bold and brave with your questions. You can ask us anything. Even the 2009 playoff final. We'll talk to Luke about that again later. Right? It's gonna come up.
Can't wait.
But next, we are extremely proud to be joined by Canadian women's national team, former Canadian women's national team, Carmelina Mascoto. Come up, please. Let's do a quick question, quiz question. We're going to talk about the women's game. So if anybody can name me a team that is in Canada's World Cup group this year, you get a prize. Holland is the answer. You can say that. Whoever said that, you can get the prize. Shawnee, you'll be all over that one. The quiz is over.
You lost. You won every other quiz. You won this one as well. You got every piece of merchandise that we have.
I don't want it. Let him take it all.
He's got it all.
I don't want any.
He's got the mug, the T-shirt, the jersey.
Good. We need fans. Keep downloading and rate and review, please. Thank you. Have to get that in. And take that off, Shawnee. We did that one. Carmelina, thanks so much for coming.
No problem at all. Happy to be here.
We are.
What a cool venue.
It's good. This is what we want. We just want to have a little, relaxing
time. What do you think of our sofa, Carmelina? Do you like it?
You know what? I don't know if I could afford it, but I do love it. I think it looks very nice. I don't know where you got it, or it's all good.
Big thanks to Sean and Clay for sorting that out today for us. And it's been snowy around here. It's been tough to do the deliveries, but we got it all in, and we're all here for that. There's so many areas we want to go to. We could be here all night, but we want to send you home as well at some point. It's just a really exciting time for the women's game right now. I think whenever you're in a World Cup year, the emphasis goes up, does it not? And then, we're going to get to your time with the World Cup as well. But overall, this is, I think, a very important year for the game, isn't it? When you've got the World Cup banner hanging over it.
Yeah, it is, and it's for us. It's in a quadrennial. It's the third year out of 4. I get a quadrennial defined as as soon as the Olympics is over, you start again. And oftentimes, it was funny. It was a big learning for me, even as a veteran senior player in the last World Cup that we hosted. All those players on that 23-player roster, that was the pinnacle event for us. But for the coaches, it was actually their third year in a 4-year event cycle. And the Olympics was, in fact, their pinnacle. So it's an interesting year. It is, in fact, very important. But I have to say, I think on the men's side, the World Cup is the biggest event. And for the women, it is an interesting standpoint where it's a little bit of both. In fact, maybe the Olympics is a little bit more prestigious. So big year, 100 days today. So very exciting times.
It's an interesting point, Carmelina, because you're saying that there's some kind of parity there between the Olympics and the World Cup. And so I'm going to ask you about the 2019 World Cup. And we saw the success that 2015 brought. Obviously, it was here in Canada and record attendances and all that kind of thing. Are we going to see another extension of that with 2019 in France, or is the likes of Eda Hegerberg not playing for Norway, the Ballon d'Or winner, things like that, is that going to be a negative impact, or are you expecting the game to go on even further because of this World Cup?
It's a great question. I don't know. I wish I could have this as an interactive question with the group, because I don't believe personally that the press, the coverage, the exposure, social media, etc. I don't know how it's been in Canada comparatively. I think everybody was super excited about the home World Cup, and why wouldn't you be, of course. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this one is being as celebrated. Did anybody know it was 100 days away? I mean, I don't know that. And I think it's up to us to, as a soccer community, to continue to promote this in our own ways and channels. But to your point, I think there's a lot of interesting things happening in the women's game. I can't wait till the competition begins to increase, just like the men's proposed 48. Hopefully we become bigger, and I was still in it in 2011 when it was at 16 teams. So it's growing all the time, and that means that nations are showing up and putting more into their women's football. So to answer your question, because I'm a long-winded kind of gal, I'm excited for this World Cup. I think it's going to put women's football back on the discussion table, and people can start to celebrate what the women's game is doing and how we're growing. But it takes the support of the fans, I think, first and foremost.
So back on 2015, you were a part of the squad. We covered it on TSN. I do want to ask you about your own experiences there, but I just think you just brought up a fascinating discussion that we're all invested in. I certainly am involved in this, and Stephen and I have had many conversations about the women's game, and one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you tonight and continue the discussion on our platforms. Would you be, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how would you summarize that you think that the knock-on effects of hosting that World Cup in this country has helped, and has it gone to a level that you would have hoped, or maybe is it still going that in a slower direction for you, for the awareness of the game here since that hosting that World Cup?
It's hard having been in it. I know what it did for the cities and the venues and how people showed up, and the excitement around the events. We were knocked out early, right? The reality is we got to experience the last parts of the event just like everyone else, which is exactly not how we wanted to spend our time. But when you think about it, has it lasted? I'm now a technical director at a grassroots club, and I'm thinking to myself, has registrations gone up in female sport? And the answer is no. I'm not here doom and gloom. I'm here to grow the game and all that good stuff. But, I'd love to see that more females and more pathways are being built so that there's a lot more sustainability in the game. So I think there was an excitement around hosting, and I think the seats were filled and those things were achieved. Super big revenue generator. I think it was one of the biggest in a long time. But I'd love to see maybe a call to action to get more of the girls involved now, so we can see them from, U4s all the way through, and introducing more pathways for girls in the future is going to continue with this buzz. It can't just be every 4 years we get kind of excited and then what? It needs to be a long-standing effort, in my opinion.
Yeah, on that note, you were one of 23 women in that squad that captured the nation, and you talk about the next generation, and you're part of the grassroots. You were heroes to these people in this country, and some of those people have now moved on, and maybe they're looking for you now, and they're wondering, where are they playing now? So maybe for our listeners and viewers here, maybe give us an idea of where it's taken you as well. You talked about it there, but there will be some people who aren't aware of where the game is now for you.
Yeah, I retired in 2016. I was released from the Rio squad, so there was a big group of that 23-player roster that was actually not invited to continue and finish the quadrennial, which was a surprise. I mean, you never feel like your career is going to end in the middle of a quad, so it was devastating. I mean, there's nothing to hide that, but it was exactly what Canada needed. They went on to win a second bronze. You have the likes of Ashley Lawrence and the Kadisha Buchanans and the Jessie Flemings, those ones making a push, and in fact are the absolute core in that group now. And that's what a cycle's about. And ours ended a little sooner. So to your question, I retired, 2016 around May, and I was quickly put into the national team program to work with the U17s. Within a short time, was at the U17 World Cup in Jordan. So within 5 months. was hired as a Rex talent manager, which for those maybe I don't like acronyms because what does that mean to people? It's a regional Excel talent manager. So we were implementing the curriculum of the national team on the provincial level in high performance environments. That's what I did for 1 full year, plus 7 other jobs because I was on a mentorship and learning. So that ended for me January 2018, January 2018. I went to Australia with my partner, and I ended up coaching 2 women's semi-professional teams. Found myself back in Canada after, you think other places in the world are, Australia, they're on the world stage. They're 5th in the world. They're doing great stuff. But we all have our challenges, right? I think I hit the pinnacle as a semi-pro coach in that country. I think I hit a pinnacle there. So then I came back, and I'll be honest, I'll give you a 30-second story of why I took a technical director job. And my career has taken a few different twists and turns. But when I was a Rex talent manager, we inherited players at the age of 13, a high-performance player at 13. And if they couldn't do something technically at that minute or globally, tactically, whatever the case, we would always be like, the grassroots are letting us down. Oh, what the hell are they doing at the grassroots? Everyone wants to blame what's happening below you. So I took this job to just actually understand what the hell's happening at the grassroots. So if I'm going to do anything with my career and give back, it's going to be starting from the bottom up. I understood top down very well. I still do, high performance and such. But I think it's more about, can I help U4s and coaches that are coaching the U4s and all the way up, and we can make this better. So I'm trying to affect change in my own way, and that's where I am right now. And who the heck knows where weirder things have happened. I have no idea what's next.
So to that point, are Canada soccer coming in too late? We're getting these kids, boys and girls, at a stage where it's difficult to change the bad habits and difficult to teach the fundamentals of the game. Do you think that we should be in a little bit earlier as a organisational body, Canada Soccer?
It's a fantastic question. I think the provinces are doing a great job to implement the long-term player development and to get more coaches certified. I just was lucky enough to listen to Jason DeVos yesterday in our York region technical director meeting, and the poor guy's getting inundated with, he's getting hounded and pounded. Every time he speaks, it's kind of like we should be certifying our house league coaches. And this game has been supported on volunteers forever. So now, hold on, you're asking the club to pay for courses for volunteers who do it on their pastime, but he's like, well, would you send your kid to a classroom that didn't have a certified teacher? It's that whole thing. It's like you wouldn't. So why are we okay with volunteer coaches not being certified on the basics? And it's like the clubs don't want to pay for it. We have to come to an agreement about what this sport is about. And to your point, Canada Soccer coming in at U4, maybe not, but the provinces are doing their absolute best. And they are trying. I know that for sure.
They certainly are. If you don't mind shifting our attention to the national team right now, they are currently in a tournament. Yeah. For those listening to us after the live taping, you may already be aware that they're going to play their second game against Scotland, and that might have already been completed. But that comes tomorrow after the taping of this. They played Iceland in the first game and drew 0-0 yesterday, a game they should have won, but they didn't. In the end, they dominated the game, but they couldn't. So let's hope, as a future World Cup analyst on live television, how would you analyze this Canadian national team for the World Cup?
To be fair, I honestly, when I watched that Iceland game, because I watched the second half yesterday, I hope that that's not the direction we're going to head. I think it's Iceland look to sit in, look to play very low defensive block and look for the counter. And it's some nations will do that. There's absolutely no doubt. That's a fine tactic if you're looking to win or get a result. But Canada, again, I think it's redundant to say, but it's very true that they're going to have to learn how to break down these teams with more creativity in the final third. Like, I feel like I'm completely, that's the game. We're arriving in the final third. A lot of the work that we've ever done in that program goes into how we build through the thirds or the quarters. And then when we arrive, it's kind of like that final product. But the good news is they have the players to do it. There's no one more exciting than Jessie Fleming right now. There's no one that I would want to watch more than her. Ashley Lawrence excites me when she has the ball. Janine Becky's killing it at Man City. Like, she is absolutely putting her name on the international and global map. And they have the players to do it. There's absolutely no doubt. And their direction that they've taken under Kennett, as opposed to John, is a little bit fluid, and you can see that there's an enhanced kind of confidence in the group, and he's choosing the Rebecca Quinns of the world to be the center back because she's creative and she's actually a midfielder. I think they're going to do extremely well. Their team chemistry is through the roof. I absolutely know that for a fact, and that goes a long way in the women's game. Probably in the men's game too, but maybe more in the women's game.
So assuming Canada wins the World Cup, is there going to be a bit of a breakout superstar within the squad, or is it going to be Christine Sinclair that gets that winning goal? What do you think? Give us some tips on who we should be looking out for. You know you gave a couple there, but give us some more insight.
Heidema and Grosso, not to be too biased, like working with them throughout the youth system and seeing how Grosso and Desiree Scott now are kind of splitting minutes, and there you can see that predecessor type situation occurring and evolving. Julia Grosso is going to be, and Jessie Fleming in the midfield. That's unbelievable to me. And then watching Jordan Heidema on the world stage has been a proud moment for everyone part of her journey, and there's been a lot of people that have helped get her to that point for sure, but it's a tribute to her. She's going to be an international star, if not already considered on her way. So Jordan Heidema for me, I put my money on her, and Julia Grosso.
Before we get to Sean for the headlines, to generate some more discussion with you, during our World Cup chats, we had the privilege to have Ashley Lawrence join us on set for one of the shows. And she was great, and she's obviously playing at a very high level now, obviously in Paris, and doing such a great job there. And I thought it was fascinating for her to talk to us that day about what that day-to-day mentality has helped her game as well. And we just heard from the boys before TFC about the culture of the clubs and taking them on individually. You talk about Manchester City there with Becky, and Heidema's now off there. And how big is that for the women's game and for Canada that these girls are playing in high-performance environments every day?
We were begging 8 years ago to be in anything of the sort, like even to sniff an environment like that, and then the NWSL came along and the federations created some sort of agreement where we were allocated to teams, and arguably that was a terrible system, I'll be honest with you, and that was because they didn't have to pay for us. We were given to them, and in fact you just ended up they preferred their domestics or their draft picks or whoever else, so you ended up, in my particular case, I'll speak for mine, you were one of 15 allocated players and treated like an absolute bottom of the barrel. And that's fine. Every coach has their opinion. I'm not saying I was the greatest player in the world, but there was something about that wasn't a great experience. So there was an attempt to get these environments for us. But the advantage for having a North American league was the coach John Herdman was able to take the players whenever he needed, right? And that was a massive advantage. So now that the players are in these top professional environments with a lot stricter contracts, they don't have that luxury. And in fact, does the Canadian national team have to be in residencies to be performing on the world stage? Because we were so far behind a few years ago. 2 quadrennials ago, we were nowhere near. But now, as you can see, the growth has happened, the work has been put in, and now they don't have to meet as often. But it's also because the girls are playing in professional environments. They can't be leaving every time the national team knocks on their door. Because there's FIFA windows, and they're required to go to those FIFA windows. But anything around that, the club doesn't have to let them go, as you know. On the men's side, this is normal stuff. But on the girls' side, it's new. It's newer, right? So our top players being in those top environments are only helping it when they get together. And then they get to work on their tactics heading into pinnacle events.
And what can we do, Carm, to... I say we, not just Stephen and I, but as a nation, as fans, as media, TSN, what can we do to continue the growth of this game? Is it just this? Is it high-level conversations? Is it? I'm sure you're invested in that. That's why I'm asking you the question, that you've got a lot of passion, haven't you, and I'm sure ideas. I'd like to just give you a chance to talk about that.
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. I do receive it a lot, and I think the conversation's been pretty similar for the past 4 years. It's exposure. With more exposure comes more interest in the game. I run a lot of parent meetings these days, and the amount of parents that come up to me and just say, "Oh, you know what?" They take me aside and they say, "Oh, I kind of love watching the women's game more. You guys don't dive and all these crazy things." And I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's normal for me. I don't think of it that way, but I think exposure and not just once every 4 years. So is there a way to stream, broadcast, talk about, and Twitter helps, don't get me wrong, but like maybe more streaming of games and accessibility to the game for people to then therefore fall in love with it. On another level, just a quick one is obviously getting more women in the game. And there's just so many obstacles. I think there's society and culture and life where women are still at home taking care of kids sometimes. It's obviously more of an equal society these days, but there's a lot more obstacles, I think, in the family. If you want to have a family, it's tough, and so how do we make education for women for people, but for women, a little bit more accessible, more online, more a la carte, modern learning. There's a lot to do with how we kind of keep women in the game at all levels. And it starts with a little bit of exposure and interest. And then where that interest goes is up to that female. But you guys can all agree, I'm always the only female in the room. All the time. And everyone's, how do you feel about that? I feel fine about it. It's normal for me now, unfortunately. But not every female feels comfortable with that. Like, I went to I'm doing my UEFA courses. Only female in the room. And then when you go out there, you have to be 30 times as good. Try your best. You meditate before bed to be as good as you want to show you're okay and you're good in those environments. And then you actually show some value and they're like, holy moly. And it's like, I don't even feel like I'm good. I think they're just surprised that there's a competency there. In my TD meeting in the York region, I'm the only female TD. It feels weird. I feel like, where is everyone?
We have to start somewhere, and you have to realize that you are setting a trailblazing moment here, though, at some point, because for you to voice those, I think, pretty, it's candid responses to what you've said there is a start right away, Stephen. No, I mean, at the end of the day, that it's very important that this conversation continues and that we're not afraid to address the failures of what's happening in the system right now and how we collectively, as people who are passionate, not only about soccer, but about life. My daughter's 12. We're all invested in these things. And, we have to have these conversations. Not be afraid of it. We're adults here. Let's go head on to it and talk about the issues and let's get better at it.
Yeah, you can't afford to hide behind the sofa and just pretend it's not happening. We've got to have discussions to get it out there. And I think that in Carm's case, it's a very brave thing to do, to take on a TD role. And I mean that in the best sense, because I've coached with Carm before. We did a thing a while back, a few years ago, called Tear Up the Turf, where we were both coaching, and I saw her delivery. She's absolutely fantastic. And so to take on a TD, it tells you how invested she is in the system and in improving that system, because she could easily have took a better coaching job and worried about one team, but she wants to be a part of helping a system, and I think that's really brave. We need more people like her within the game. There should be a balance here between TDs, because guess what? There's a balance between the members of every single club.
100%.
There's men and women with boys and girls within every single club, and so there should be way more female TDs. And Carm's a trailblazer. She's going to be extremely successful in whatever she does. You can tell that by her sitting here just now, and I commend her on that, because she could easily have worried about herself and her own career, but she wants the best for a group of people and for the game in general.
Yeah, and she's the best, and that's why she's here. So, thank you for coming. Before we let you go, over to Sean to give us one of the headlines for tonight. Shawnee?
You guys already touched on the Iceland 0-0, but how much should we take from the Algarve Cup?
This is actually one of those events that they'll go back and truly analyze as gap analysis. They'll consider the opponents in this event. If I'm modern enough, if I haven't been away from the game modern enough, they're probably more like a tier 2 opponent. Tier 1 defined as the USAs, the Germanys, and if you want to go by rankings, probably top 5, 6. So anybody 7 and below starts to become 1B. And then they'll kind of define our opponents that way. So in a tier 2 tournament, which I believe Iceland and Scotland to be at this point in their journey, respectfully, this will be just like how they'll do in some of the rounds in the World Cup. And it'll be give them information, but it won't give them tier 1 information right now.
But it's tournament experience, isn't it?
Spot on. Tournament experience, short turnarounds, taking care of the body, getting rid of, getting understanding of what those routines look like for some of those young players. The more tournaments they can play, the more expertise that they'll develop.
And do you think this is the kind of challenges they're going to face against teams like that, where they're getting everybody behind the ball? It's difficult to break down. I watched the first half really closely, and they had a number of great chances, but you're right in saying that the play was fantastic. The three at the back I thought really worked. Quinn stepping out from the back was really exciting to see.
Pitch, yeah.
Becky was magnificent on the right-hand side, but it's just that KJ talks about it all the time. In the game of soccer, the key moments are, in the 18-yard box, really, and we sort of lacked that a little bit.
The spontaneity, that improvisation at the last minute, doing something that nobody expects, right? Are we sticking to script a little too much at times? It's always been. It's been there. It's not John. It's not Kenneth. It's there. It's been there.
So is it the system? Sorry to interrupt.
It could be. It could be something where,
stopping that creativity from being developed. Are we trying to make these kids into robots? Should we be a bit freer on that flamboyant maverick? Because I know I'm the same. We're saying to that boy or girl, get that out your game, be a bit more steady, and all of a sudden we're just creating the same player within the system. Should we be cognizant of that type of player at 11 and 12?
We should be. And I think even with us where I work, it's going to be a lot about, the curriculum we implement. And people use that word a lot. What's curriculum? It's just a guidance. It's guidance on age and stage appropriate programming. And what people fail to realize is that it's actually meant to be individual programming until around the age of 13 within the team context. It's not team development, it's individual development within a team. And you move through the game formats, 5v5, and on you go. 3v3, whatever you start at. But the interesting part is you're exactly right. Some coaches, if it's a mindset and a skill set and a structure, we overemphasize. Some coaches overemphasize the skill set, and then they can never work in a system. And if you don't get the balance right, if you don't have a team identity, all these crazy things, but if you don't address all three of them at some point in your curriculum, you're screwed. You can overemphasize skill set up until whatever age, but at one point do they learn to work with the team? Or do you overemphasize structure and then they don't actually build their own creativity? So it's no perfect answer, but you do need to consider all those three things.
Fascinating stuff. I'm sure our audience would agree, and I'm sure many of our listeners who will be later listening to this as well. Thank you again for coming. Please make us one more promise. We are 100 days out from the World Cup, but we will be in very close detail wanting to preview that tournament again closer, so please promise you'll come back.
I'll see if I have some time.
All right, thanks, Carl. Thanks, Carl. Great stuff. Very important conversations, and learned a ton there, so thanks again to Carl for coming up. Let's carry on the discussion domestically. We're excited here. It's a very exciting time in 2019 to be a soccer fan in Canada. Why? Because the Canadian Premier League is here. It's here to stay. It's here to arrive. It's going to be kicking off in the next few weeks. And we're delighted now to welcome two players from the Canadian Premier League, Manny Aparicio and Bekker, up on stage, please, guys. We've got them sitting together, even though they're rivals now. Right?
Yeah, I should be between them, shouldn't I?
You should have been between. You might be between them by the end of the
Bobby
night.
and Jimmy won't be happy with me unless I stop these arguments, these fights.
They're all comfortable right now in the green room talking about the Premier League. And fast forward to April 27th, lads. You won't necessarily be comfortable that day, but it can't come soon enough, no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were just talking about in the back. I've been saying I kind of feel like I'm in a cult now these days. We've just been talking about it every single day, kind of trying to keep the excitement going, but to finally be starting. I mean, York starting tomorrow. We're starting on Sunday. It's just roll the ball out there and start playing and have it be real again.
And that's the thing, isn't it, Manny? Isn't it? It's real. I mean, there's a lot of people been invested in this for many, many years. Now it's here. We're going to get to it in a second, but the schedule's out this week. Finally you're starting your preseason, and I'm sure for you it's just nothing but excitement and just ready to kick a ball.
Yeah, I know. Like you said, obviously CPL was going to come before. It ended up getting postponed a bit. So, we're all waiting for it to come around. It's finally here now. And, we're all waiting. We're starting, like you said, we're starting tomorrow. They're starting Sunday. I'm sure other teams are starting around the same dates. But, yeah, we're all ready to go. All the players are here. And, can't wait to get started. And obviously now we have a long 2 months of preseason because the first game is April 27th. But we're all starting from zero, and we have to get started somewhere.
you guys obviously will forever be known as the inaugural class for this league, and a league that we hope will continue to be going way after we've all left. You know, that's what the aim is for this league. But you were also players who've come at a very high level from other areas that you had other opportunities. Going back to those moments before you signed for your clubs, Kyle, were the questions that you had of the league, and if so, what were they?
For me, it was just it's a very unique opportunity. I've had a lucky enough time to play with Stevie in Toronto, and then kind of bounce around in the MLS. And I don't know if it was just sort of a perfect storm with what was going on in my career, but it's such an unbelievable opportunity to be a part of this from the ground up. I mean, if we're actually truly going to grow this game in our country, we need to have a top division that's our own. I mean, no disrespect to TFC, Vancouver, and Montreal in the MLS. They've been unbelievable. But if we're actually going to blow it up, so to say, and be a big thing on the national level, then we need to have more opportunities for the kids we have in this country. And we have great players. And the thing I've seen year after year is you get to 16, 17, and then it's like, what am I going to do? Is this a reality? How am I going to get this? What, am I going to go to college? Am I going to take a chance, go to Europe, and just hope something happens? Does the coach who I'm playing with actually have my back, or is he just feeding me a line kind of thing? And so I think if kids can see this from 5, like Carmen was talking about, just have this be a real thing, and then you can keep growing it and keep seeing it and see this as a reality, something that you can make a career out of, then I think we're going to see it just turn. It's going to be night and day with the quality that we're going to turn out. I mean, we're already seeing it with the kids we have on the national team right now who are doing unbelievable things. In Alfonso, Balou, all these guys, we have the talent, and it's always been here. It's just how do we give them the opportunity to showcase on a bigger stage, and just to be a part of this from day one is what excited me. I mean, who cares about Kyle Bekker? It's about Canada soccer. So just to be a part of this is awesome.
And Manny, for you, same kind of thing, I would have guessed when you were signed. It's a no-brainer, obviously, to come back and play, but I'm sure you had some questions of the league as well at that point, and you had other choices as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, you always have choices and you always have options in this sport at the end of the day, and it's different from what the women's game is. You know, we have 100 different leagues, you can choose from, but having our own, like Beck said, it's something special. It's something where, we're making history at the end of the day. All these leagues and we needed one. There were so many players. And at my time at TFC, for example, when Stevie was there, Bex was there, you were covering it, and I was on the academy, and I could have named you 10, 15 guys that could have made it to first team or could have made that next step, but you're at 16, 17, 18 years old, and you don't have that next league or playing 25 games a season, 30 games a season. We were playing academy, at the time was the CSL. There was a reserve league, which was 15, 20 games max. If it didn't rain? Yeah, if it didn't rain, because if it was a rainy day, called off. So it's something we needed for a long time. Bex had to go overseas to play when he was younger. I'm just coming back now, and we were lucky enough to be able to do it. But there's so many guys that they didn't want to leave home to go overseas or even to the States, and that's a big difference. You'll be able to play for your local club, for your team at the end of the day, for your city.
Manny, both you guys started at Toronto FC and went different paths. You spent some time in Spain. Do you feel the responsibility coming back here to, both Canadian internationals, coming back here to Canada? Now you're one of the leaders in your dressing room. These young guys, or all these guys, are going to look to you for that leadership in that way. Do you feel that? Are you excited about that? Do you want to bring that? And how are you going to do that from day one, set a culture from the start?
Yeah, no, it's actually funny to now be the leader. When I first started with TFC, you were actually the leader of our team, and I remember back then, you guys taking us under your wing, you, Diro, all these players that were in that change room. And now, yeah, I'm 23, but you got to kind of the experience we've built over the years with TFC, with playing overseas, national team, whatever it may be. try to kind of help those young guys, because at the end of the day, there's 18, 19, 20-year-olds kids signing, and they're going to need it. It's their first pro experience, and, you know, we're going to be there to try to help them and try to coach them along with our coaches, along with Jimmy and along with Carm and along with whoever it is, to try to take that next step and make this what this league should be. You know, it's not just going to be all, we need owners, we need sponsors, we need, you know, money. You also got to play it on the field and play it off the field, in the change room, and being a professional day in, day out.
Is there something, guys, to the pull of playing at home? You know, you guys have played all around, like, different places now, and, you know, you grow up as kids and you want to prove to people here that what you can do, and then you obviously, your career takes you in different areas, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's exciting, but to go to these places now, you know, Halifax, Edmonton, Calgary, Victoria, you know, Vancouver Island, there's so many, there must be such excitement there, Kyle, that you can go out there and play on Canadian soil as a proud Canadian.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been lucky enough to play for Toronto, so I had my family there, which was awesome. But this, again, is kind of what we were speaking about earlier. It's about growing the game. Now your community actually can have a team, whereas the entire GTA and everyone had to go to Toronto. Now you're from Hamilton, you support Hamilton, and you actually can create that awesome feeling, which is the special thing about soccer, and the unique opportunity that we have as starting from ground level, where none of us are big time, and we have to have the humility to get out there and meet the fans and represent our community in our towns. And for me to be, again, another opportunity to be close to home, it's awesome, because in this line of work, you don't always have the chance to play in your backyard in front of your family and friends. So that's something I'm never going to take for granted, and I'm obviously looking forward to that.
Forge FC, York 9 FC, Tim Hortons Field. These two guys in the middle of the park against each other.
We have tickets, by the way, we're going to give away tonight for that game as well.
You're going to kick him, aren't you? Tell us, come on.
Have to.
You better kick him.
Yeah. I don't think I have an option. But this guy, he's flying around. You know, I'm getting a little older. Take him out in the first 5 minutes.
It's tough to get near him. If you get the chance, you kick him.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing around the park for 90 minutes, and who wants that? So.
It's important to start that rivalry off right away. You know that.
I mean, I think I just screwed myself.
You set the tone. You know, for years to come, they're going to be playing this montage rivalry, and then, you know, years to come, you guys are going to be old guys, and they're going to be showing you two going face to face in the first ever game. That's what you got to realize. You want to be on that montage, lads.
Just got to drop the mitts at center ice, right? Represent Canada.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can score the goals as well, of course.
Yeah, come
that's
on.
Important.
Everyone's coming for the fight.
Sort him out, you know. Why not? Before we get to the last headline from Shawnee, and we let you go, and we do love having you guys here. It's been absolutely brilliant. 2026 is obviously a big moment for all Canadians to look forward to. You guys are still involved in the game. You said you're getting old now. You're still really young at this point, both of you.
I'm all washed up.
At this point, that's still got to be a goal for you guys, because you're going to be playing professional football for the next 6 seasons. Obviously, the Canadian national team, there's a tremendous amount of positivity around the men's game now. It hasn't always been that way. But that's still something that's there for, I would imagine, not just you, but the people in the locker room. It's going to be a big carrot dangling, isn't it, for Canadians?
Absolutely. I mean, by no means am I like crossing my fingers or anything like that. But also in the same breath, I'm not coming to the CPL to mail it in. I'm here. I'm kind of in a different spot than Manny, because I'm a few years older, and I want to be more of a leader on this team and give these kids that I think definitely have the talent to push to break into this national team and keep challenging for a spot, and then keep getting better as a whole. So, I mean, obviously, if I was lucky enough, then come on, you're playing for Canada. That's unbelievable, and especially on the highest stage. But for me, we just got to get the ball rolling and keep doing everything day in and day out, and kind of the commissioner, everyone's kind of spoke about as being patient, but it's just building this in the right way, because we have a special opportunity as Canadians to potentially, or to be hosting this World Cup, and we need to get this thing right.
And for you as well, Manny?
Yeah, no, same thing. Obviously, it's always in the back of your mind as a player. You know, even if you're 37 years old, you're always thinking national team, you know, that pride to play for your country. But at the end of the day, like Beck said, this isn't just about us. The league, you know, obviously, World Cup may come, and hopefully we're there, and I'm there, and hopefully Vex is there, and whoever it may be. But this league is for the next generation. You know, we're here now, and we're here to put the stamp on the league and to get it going, make it grow. But this is for the kids playing for Woodbridge, for Vaughan, for East York, for whoever it may be, 12, 13 years old, that they're going to have this league up and going, 10 years of the league already, hopefully playing and with 15, 20 teams and, a league where they can come in and really the national team come and pull players from this league. Right now I feel like the national team, every time they had to look for something, it was overseas and they had to go so far when the talent was right here all along and we were trying to find ways to get our games going. But yeah, obviously in regards to the World Cup, it's something we all look forward to and hopefully we're still around to play for it. But yeah, we just can't get started or can't get enough of football, to start for this World Cup.
You guys have got a great opportunity. You've worked really hard to be where you are in your careers. Enjoy it. It's going to be a magnificent time for the Canadian Premier League. We wish you nothing but the best. Before we let you go, and again, thanks for coming. It's been a pleasure. Over to Shawnee for our next headline.
Speaking of national teams, U.S. Soccer is working with CONCACAF is working with CONCACAF and CONMEBOL for a 16-team tournament to compete with the UEFA Champions League. Is this a good idea, or should the two federations try to build up their own properties first?
What do you guys think? So what this is U.S. Soccer announced recently this week that in 2020 they want to have a tournament that wouldn't be like the Gold Cup, but trying to start their own thing here by getting obviously the 12 nations from CONMEBOL to come into their, the 10 nations from CONMEBOL to come into a tournament and ask 6 CONCACAF nations to come along with them, to give teams like Canada, who I think would be invited with knowing that they're involved with Mexico and the United States for the World Cup, to give them an opportunity to play the likes of Brazil and Argentina. And I guess it's just again showing that CONCACAF are making more and more relationships around the world. That's important, Cal.
No, I definitely think it's important. It would be awesome if that happened, because if you're playing more competitive games as a national team, it's better. Obviously, we can all do friendlies and everything, and we've been in this weird realm where we get knocked out of the hex early, so then you're just going 2-3 years just playing friendlies and they're not competitive games, and you show up in these camps and it's hard. It's not like it's hard to get up for it, but it's how do you keep everyone motivated so then when the actual qualifying comes, that we know how to be in-game ready and play these games that matter and get in those tough experiences where you're playing in terrible atmospheres. Well, they're unbelievable to play in, but it's intimidating.
Difficult.
Yeah. And so you get used to that, then I think it can only be a positive.
Great stuff, guys. Obviously, I want to echo the thoughts you just said again. This is going to be a really exciting time. Go out there, enjoy this time, enjoy preseason. I know preseason can be a little
never
bit
enjoy
long,
preseason, do you guys?
8-week preseason.
I never anyway. That's
try
for
and
sure.
enjoy preseason, games to come, and we'll be watching on the 27th when you guys are trying to exchange fouls. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.
Thanks
Cheers.
for everything.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on. Luke Wileman's in the room. Let's just get up here now, Luke. Come on.
Was he in the back? I thought he's
Come
in
on
the
up.
back.
Come
His
on up.
rider was yellow jelly beans only.
We have to have him on that
Can't
side.
change the order.
We can't change the
Feel
order.
far too weird if
Yeah.
he was in the middle.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is much more comfortable, though, than...
There you go.
Should we tell him about Luke Wileman's rider? He was asking for just yellow jelly babies in the back. He was asking for champagne.
Well, he's a coach now.
Oh, yeah.
He's a coach. He's exchanging coaching stories with Carmelina earlier, as if he's some big-time coach all of a sudden. Did one course. That's why you weren't on the Premier League on the weekend. Let's tell you.
It was because
tell
I'm
your fans.
trying to help grow the game and advance my own
Excellent.
education.
That's right.
And taking it very seriously, coaching these U8 boys.
That's right.
Yeah. It's, you know what? My son just entered the U8 rep program at Markham Soccer Club. And so it's my first actual, I'd heard the horror stories and everything about, youth soccer.
Well, of course you did. You worked with Jason.
I've worked with Jason for a long time, so I've heard plenty of the stories. So we went to the tryouts, and we were standing by the side. I was standing by the side of the pitch, and one of the guys walks over to me. He's like, "You know about soccer? You talk about it on TV. So we need an assistant coach for this team. So do you want to do it?" And I'm like, "Well, not really, but I should."
You're in trouble by then.
Not at all.
No.
But maybe if I say yes, my son will definitely get on the team. It won't, it's not going to be a problem. So I say yes, and then I think I can get out of it at a later date. I'm just busy with work or whatever. But it turns out that as soon as you say yes, then you're in it for life. Like, there's no escaping it.
You're in.
But as I was saying to Carm earlier, I actually, from that point when I had not a year ago, if you told me I would be helping coach U8 boys, I would have thought you were crazy. But I actually enjoy it. It's been something that's been since last May. It's like I actually live for going coaching those. It's much better than sitting with these two idiots talking on television. Like
well, to be fair, it's enhanced your knowledge of the game a little bit more. You're coming up with a bit more tactical questions now, right?
Maybe we should ask him the questions now. Yeah,
okay. Yeah. You know,
why are Chelsea playing 4-3-3?
I don't know because I'm only half watching,
or not watching because you're doing courses on Saturdays now instead. But
no, I have to say though that it was.
You've surprised us. I have to say that
it was good to see, and Carm touched on it as well. That there were 30 people on this course on OSA fundamentals course for like. One of the things I really learned from it is that it's not like coaching Barcelona. I should maybe dial it back a little bit in terms of criticizing these 7-year-old kids, especially my own. But it's about fun.
As Kevin Payne said, you just used the B word.
What?
Barcelona.
Oh, Barcelona, yeah.
Kevin Payne said the B word.
Barker.
Yeah.
But no, it was good to see that there were people who were committed to growing the game, giving up a Saturday, to go and advance themselves and learn how to be a better coach for these kids that are coming through. So
there you go.
It sort of restored a bit of faith in where we're going right now.
And you gave up a Saturday. You gave up a Saturday with us. So
yeah, and it was the best Saturday I've had in a long time. Yeah. It's a long time.
Well, next season you'll have a lot more Saturdays without us as well. So where do we go from here? Let's have a look at my rundown. Sheffield United are doing well.
They are.
Yeah. So Luke Wileman's a big Sheffield United fan. Actually, quiz question. If anybody knows, Brian Dean scored the first ever Premier League goal ever. Just ask Luke. He reminds us every week. If anybody knows who they played, Man United. Yes. And give that Anthony a little present.
Was it not Everton?
Man United is the answer. Anthony gets a prize. Man United were the opponents that day. Yep. I don't know if you remember this game. Did you commentate on it or anything?
No, I was still watching in the stands at that point.
You were there? Were you there? Yeah. Just to prepare for this a little bit, I reminded myself of this game today. And your goalkeeper at the time, do you remember who he was? The goalkeeper that day?
That day? No, Simon Tracy.
Simon Tracy's the answer, yeah. He absolutely mauls Ryan Giggs in the penalty box, like clattered him down, and it didn't give a penalty. And I've got a quote here. I had to run this by you because I had to take a picture of it.
It's far too
no, this is no. You're gonna.
I actually don't.
You're gonna understand why I said this right now. So
questions.
in 1992, just stop talking. In 1992, you're the man that you talk about to us every week as a hero, Dave Bassett.
Oh, Dave Bassett, legend, absolute legend. No, listen.
Dave Bassett, legend.
No.
It's never been said in the same
hold on,
sentence
let him
before,
carry
ever.
on. This is going exactly the way it's supposed to. Carry on.
No, go on.
No, you legend, Dave Bassett. Carry on.
Well, no, you're always impressionable by what you watch when you're growing up. And as I was like late 80s, early 90s, he was in charge. He was the manager of the team, Sheffield United, the team you support, getting promoted to the Premier League, or back then it was the old Division 1 when they actually got promoted with a team of legends as well, like Brian Dean, Tony Agana, Ian Bryson, all the incredible talent.
Whatever
they
you
should
say.
have played at a much higher level.
Talent.
Like, just stop. Anyway,
and
1992.
I love Dave Bassett so much that I used to go on holiday with my parents to a place called Bournemouth on the south coast, like a 4-hour drive maybe from Sheffield. And I don't know, people probably hear it's not a Canadian thing really, but every time you go to an English seaside town, they have these sticks of rock. Right?
Oh yeah.
Blackpool
Rock,
the name of the place. And I would always bring Dave Bassett a stick of rock back from my vacation, and I would go and take it with a postcard to the club, leave it on the desk.
This is as a fan or a reporter?
As a fan.
Okay.
As a fan.
I was just saying.
Didn't know the guy.
Oh, okay, I thought you were reporting on the team at that point.
But he would always write a letter personally signed back to me, thanking me for leaving him the stick of rock. So,
well, Dave Bassett was asked about this rugby tackle by Simon Tracy on Ryan Giggs in the penalty box post-game. By the way, it's the first ever Sky Sports. It was the first ever live Premier League game ever.
Well, that's when football started.
It is, 1992.
There was nothing before that.
Yeah. Sheffield United 2, Manchester United 1. United gave away a penalty.
Which United? There's only one United.
Manchester United
Oh, come on.
gave away a penalty. Gary Pallister foul. Brian Dean scored the penalty. Giggs did not get given the penalty. And afterwards, your legend, hero, and rock-eating Dave Bassett said...
Bournemouth Rock.
Yeah. Was asked about the aforementioned incident between Ryan Giggs and Simon Tracy. And he said, quote, "You always have your heart in your mouth when your goalkeeper comes out at the feet of a forward." Well, you kind of should. He actually, tackles him, misses the ball. Especially now as forwards are looking to go down like they've been poleaxed. That's the one thing we have learned from the Italians and the Germans, which is not particularly good. So the legend was also a racist. What a thing to say!
I'd love to hear what he thinks about the game now. If he says they were diving in 1992, we should get him. We should try and get him on TSN one weekend. That'd be fantastic.
I don't know what gives you the right to tear down someone's childhood hero. Like,
you'll always have your rock, mates.
Yeah,
you'll always have the rock. But Sheffield United, present day,
we're going back up.
Well, that's not what you said on. What did he say
you're
this
always
week?
negative about it.
You said you were not going up. You said the other day. We're not.
That wasn't in front of people.
So every week we sit there and we watch our games and look, because his iPad, we have our phones, and we're buzzing around, but we're keeping an eye on many different games. I'm Partick Thistle for my brother.
We're all Partick Thistle.
We're all Partick Thistle right now.
But
we're all team Partick.
KJ's Villa and Luke's Sheffield United, and we're keeping an eye on the results. And Wileman's the king of keeping quiet when Sheffield concede a goal.
Yeah, you just know.
Yeah, but they score. He's like, get in, and he's screaming for the hilltops about how good they are.
Who's that striker?
And he goes quiet for a little while.
Billy Sharp,
his favourite,
King of Sheffield, or whatever you call him. Sir Billy. Yeah.
And you're not so keen to tell us when they concede a goal,
but
are
they've
you?
been doing well lately.
We have to find it ourselves.
Why would I?
Because we're sharing results with each other.
Really?
But
supposed to be.
But you do have a special affiliation with the club, even though you end up reporting on the club afterwards.
Well, I was the sports editor at Radio Sheffield, the BBC, so actually, I didn't actually tell anybody I was a Blades fan until I moved to Canada. I can never go back now, because one week I would commentate on Sheffield United, the next on Sheffield Wednesday, and then when they played each other, I'd have to be like straight down the middle, and then every night we'd do an hour of the call-in show, and people would, and I like, if they'd known at that point that I sort of leaned one way or the other, then I would have got lynched.
But you're not going back, so it's fine.
But no, probably not. And if I do, I can't go there.
We have to buy five plane tickets, so...
yeah.
You're not going back.
I used to go back regularly.
To be 6.
When I moved here in 2006, we would go back every year to England. And then we had one kid, and we kept going back at Christmas time. Then we got to 2 and then 3, and now I'm never leaving Markham again. Like... 2 nights at Great Wolf Lodge a few weeks ago, and I was ready to, I've done. And that was an hour and a half in the car, and oh my goodness. So England has got to wait a long time. Till they can fly themselves on their own, and we'll go separately.
If he ever flies with 3 kids to England, I might just buy a ticket and go.
I want to go.
We should go.
Sit right behind you.
Yeah, we should just watch that. That'll be like a fantastic 8.5-hour movie.
Yeah, because when we fly to MLS games, who's in the points first class system?
Executive class.
Mr. Wileman.
Does he ever take us?
First,
Zone 1.
Zone 1.
Zone 1, he's off. He's waiting there. We're Zone 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Basically underneath with the baggage. Wileman's sitting there. He's comfy. He's got his champagne.
Luke's got his cup of tea already in his mug, in his hard mug, not one of them crappy little plastic cups. You know.
Have I ever missed a flight?
Oh. No, but you have missed kick-off of a game before.
No, it wasn't kick-off.
It weren't kick-off, to be fair.
Come on.
He did miss the broadcast beginning
live broadcast.
on Tuesday.
It was almost
kick-off. It's a live broadcast Tuesday, and we're about to go to air, and someone's eating chicken fingers.
I got the headset on. KG's next to me. Doesn't
live
have a headset.
Live in 30 seconds.
And so I'm here in 30 seconds. I'll be in. He's never late. Normally
they threw to us early.
No,
they were a minute and a half early.
So normally it's me coming rushing in, but this time it's me there all alone. And I'm thinking, he'll be in a second. Then I hear 10, 9, and then I can hear Kelsey Braid's voice saying, and for the call of the game, Luke Wileman and Stephen Caldwell. And there's nobody next to me. It's just me. And I'm like, oh, shit. I guess I'm calling the game. And I'm right on top back, and I'm saying, Owen, Luke's not here. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm panicking on the spot. And Luke comes busting in, chicken wings fingers coming out his mouth. Too busy eating the buffet in the media box.
I honestly, to this moment, I was there watching the whole thing. I don't know where you came from. Like, you were like, not there, and then you're, hello, Luke Wileman here from BMO Field. I was like, were you under the table?
I was waiting for Stevie. I was just waiting for him to panic.
It was a remarkable entrance.
The only reason he told that is because he was the one that missed the flight. Out of the three of us up here.
Yeah.
So we're going to Vancouver last year sometime.
Yeah.
And we get there on time. It's an early morning flight. We get the 7 a.m. flight from Toronto because we want to get into Vancouver for 9 so we can go to training, do our jobs properly, be there the day before the game, talk to the coach,
be
talk
thorough,
to the players,
get notes,
be thorough, make sure that we're doing
go to bed
a good job
the night before.
Yeah. So KJ arrives and I'm in zone 1 and I'm just looking at KJ. Hey, how's it going?
I send him a postcard from zone 5.
He sends me a postcard from zone 5. I'm like, so as KJ comes on, he's like, have you seen Stevie? I'm like, no, I haven't seen Stevie yet. Maybe he's not already on.
At that point, I knew it was over, by the way. Because I'd sent him numerous messages that didn't say red.
Yeah.
And I knew that he was done. I knew.
We were somewhere, I was on the Wi-Fi, we were somewhere over Winnipeg by the time we got a message back from Stevie
just woke
saying,
up.
Oh, shit.
I may have had a couple of beers the night before.
He ended up getting to Vancouver, I think it was about 11 hours after we had, when we'd done everything we needed to do. And
a couple in Scottish means 10.
I missed 3... there was no space for me on 3 flights, so I had to wait at the airport the entire day. Missed the entire day.
Yeah.
First flight I ever missed.
Arrived and went straight to the bar.
Yeah.
But we do have some fun on our travels, no question about it, and we're lucky going out to Vancouver again this year. MLS season is starting. We did the games this week. Press conference today. Josie Altidore was announced as the next 4 years for Toronto FC. You guys did the game on Tuesday night, and I think it was fair to say that Toronto FC need to put that game pretty quickly behind them, and this is a massive start for Saturday, isn't it? Philadelphia is live on TSN at 1 o'clock.
It is, and it's not easy because they've had a decent off-season in terms of retooling and some decent signings like Fabian coming in. So I asked Greg Vanny today if he expects, and we've already seen them stumble in the Champions League, but I said, is this... Because he said it's not the finished article, it's not where we want to be, we've got people who are still going to come in. So I said, so are you going to hit the ground running, or is this something that's going to be a slow build and we're going to, you're going to see you outside the playoffs until later in the season? And he said, no, we can't afford to do that again. We learned that lesson last year. And obviously they wanted to go as far as they can in the CONCACAF Champions League, but with where this squad is right now, for their success in Major League Soccer this season, I don't actually think it's a bad thing that they've done in that other tournament.
Yeah, I don't think that they have the quality at the moment, even if they bring in 2 or 3 more recruits. I don't think they'll get up and running quickly enough to win the CONCACAF Champions League. So that makes going out, and it's always embarrassing and disappointing to go out to Independiente, a team in Panama, but it actually makes it worthwhile because now they can completely focus on MLS, and as we know from last season, it was something that was difficult for them to do, and then it was really hard for them to transition from the disappointment of Champions League to a successful MLS campaign. Injuries were occurring and a number of different issues with things there, and so I agree with you in that regard, Luke, and I think that with regards to Saturday...
Hold on. You what?
I agree with you,
Hey?
It's never happened before.
No.
Well, he hasn't given analysis before.
That's not my job. There are other hosts you may or may not work with.
Careful. Carry on.
In any sport,
yeah,
who like to give their own opinion or their own analysis,
Right.
but I leave that to the experts because I know what my my area of expertise is, and that's to make you two look good.
Mark them under eight. Mark them under eights.
Marking you eight.
So I think as we were up there today, get back to the point, we could sense from Greg Vanny that they know they're going into a different Philadelphia this time around. Yeah. You touched on it, Luke, with Marco Fabian and Santos up top, Brazilian up top, Mexican international Fabian, and the quality Medunjanin's ability to play, and the change in direction of the club with Tanner coming in as president, with Ernest Stewart leaving. It's a different Philly from what we've seen before. They won't be intimidated. They'll fancy their chances against TFC, and they want to get the season up and running. I think they'll be pretty aggressive, certainly with the way they press, but the way they play. And TFC understand that this is a very tough game to go and get something from.
Yeah, and it's going to be a strange start for TFC because obviously they've given themselves a bye week in week 2 because of the CONCACAF Champions League, which now isn't there. Then they play home to the Revolution. Then it's an international break. So by the last weekend in March, they've only played twice, when a lot of teams might have played 3 or 4 times by then. But I know they're targeting that last game, is it NYCFC on the Friday night?
Yeah.
Friday match night, live on TSN for Pozuelo's debut.
Yep.
So by that point, they'll already be playing catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's cut to the chase, guys. Ultimately, this is an enormous year for this club, isn't it? You know, they've got to get it right. And last year, you know, was a disappointment, and the year before was a miracle. You know, it's the kind of thing that these fans here and some of the fans listening at home would only dream of. You know, record setting. Nobody expects it to be repeated this season, but last season absolutely cannot be repeated for the way that this club needs to go forward, for the culture of the club, the way that it needs to be looked upon. They have to get this right, and you know, for me, anything short of a comfortable playoff position come the end of the year and a good run in the playoffs is, for a team that has high expectations and a high salary, it would be a failure.
It certainly would be a failure, and the one thing they're going to strive to achieve this season is consistency, and that, it just wasn't there last year. There wasn't any consistency in the performance, any consistency in the selection through injury and change of shape and everything that came with that. And I think we saw a side in 2017 completely focused on their goals, their deliverables, just steely determination to achieve, and they did that. And then we saw after the Champions League campaign just a flatness and a malaise around the football club that they couldn't shake, and then they couldn't find any consistency. So the key for me, Luke, I think you might agree, is they need to start off strong, and they need to get that consistency, then build on and get stronger and stronger. They can't afford to come out in any game, certainly this first one, with lethargy and a sort of expecting it to happen, because they'll probably get embarrassed in Philly if they do that.
Yeah, maybe one of the other differences this year, Michael Bradley alluded to it today, was the fact that the locker room he's happy with where the locker room is now in terms of the personalities, the fact that a couple of new guys like Lawrence Simon have come in who are character guys, as he described them, and maybe that wasn't always the case last year with
it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, definitely wasn't.
We've seen with the fact that, like, Vanderweel posted on his Instagram this afternoon that, you know, he was training on his own at Downsview after everybody else has left, and that kind of sums up what the feeling was from within last year. As they was, I mean, you would know, Stevie, I'm sure, not that you don't get on with everybody you've ever played with, but there must have been somebody that riled you a little bit, and you had to.
Stevie getting riled up
was a problem in the locker room, and you know, it can affect people. It can affect the team.
How long do we have? Do you want some stories?
Who's the worst?
There was a lot of bad ones, but, you know, one thing that always used to bug me, and it's about, we're talking about standards and culture and consistency, and to me that happens, you know, on a Monday morning all the way through to, you don't switch that on, or very few people I've ever played with have been able to switch that on at 3 p.m. And Zigic was one for me, big Nikola Zigic, he was at Birmingham with me, KJ, and, you know, some days you just walk around for the entire training session. And so I remember...
He walked around on the pitch on Saturdays as well, to be fair.
And I remember one day we were playing 6v6, and, you know, it was competition day, and we had some teams. You always want to win their games. It's important. I used to always think at the end of the week, how many 6v6s did I win? And it would affect me if I'd lost more than I'd won. I won more than I lost because I cared and it mattered, and Zigic was walking around, and I just decided it was time to have it with him, and just kind of called him out on that and just said, you're not pulling your weight. And, he was a big, aggressive guy. He came back at me, great, but it created that tension that was needed at that time. Just between us, yes, but to let everyone else know, or for me, as vice captain of that team, Stevie Carr was the club captain, but he was injured often, and I'd wear the armband. To let people know, it's always you never think about your partner next to you or the best player. You think about the 25th player, the 28th player, and it's about letting him know these are the standards. The young lad that's just come into the first team, this is what it takes. Every single day, you've got to be at it, and you've got to be there. And Zigic didn't know that. I called him out on it. There was a little bit of confrontation, and I think we were better for it.
A little bit of
a little bit of confrontation.
Well, if it was a fight, I certainly would have lost. He was about 6'7", wasn't he?
I was going to say very often.
Massive.
I'm going to say very often you and a certain MLS referee would have a confrontation where you would be leaning in on him a little bit, as you used to do, the lean in towards the ref. You couldn't lean into Zigic, could you?
No.
That would be
I
a
was
problem.
leaning back, doing the moonwalk right out of where I was before he went for me.
But it is another season of MLS on TSN, an exciting season for all of us. Before we get to Shawnee and the Ask AFP, I guess we should just cover briefly the entire season, and it is in a growth spurt. The Whitecaps have turned over the majority of their roster. The Impact had a very good second half last season. They've got one of the best team players in the league in Piatti. We just want Canadians in the playoffs, don't we? Some Canadian teams in the playoffs would be nice.
Yeah, because especially now the season's shorter. If the Canadian teams are done by October 6th, and I'm home for the winter,
what are you going to do in November?
Two kids under 2.
What are you going to do in November, mate?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
So someone's got to get in. Right now, I actually think that Montreal are the best group in terms of being ready to hit the ground running for the new season. That's because, and we followed them closely towards the end of last year. They almost got in.
Yeah.
And KJ, you know the stats better than anybody. I can't remember yesterday, let alone like what happened a few weeks ago. And anytime I need any kind of information, KJ's got his big black book, and he can tell you like how many times Nacho Piatti touched the ball with his left foot in the 13th minute of any game during the season. But what was the start they had last year?
Lost 11 of the first 15.
11 of the first 15.
And then the second half of the season, they were good enough to be the third best team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
But I do want to pick up on something there. You said that I have the things that you can trust. I think you didn't. You almost used the word trust. You didn't go there.
I didn't say trust.
No, you didn't say trust. But you were alluding to the fact that
Barry
anytime,
Dahlberg.
and you were alluding to the fact that anytime you can ask me something, and I mean anytime that I can give it to you. But there's been many times on live television where you've asked me something at break, and we're coming back 30 seconds to go, and I've given you the right answer. You've not believed me. So Europa League games, and a great goal by Dahlberg. KJ, what's his name? Casper. I'm like, what do you think it is? Barry Dahlberg? So he just goes with, so Wileman being the professional, an Ajax score a great goal by Dahlberg, as the script says, but he wants really to say the first name. Happened again this year, Ken Sema with Watford. You were like, Ken Sema? I'm telling you the truth. And he still, to this day, looks at me as if I'm going to give him the name. One of these days, I'm going to give him the wrong name.
He won't say it. He won't say it. It won't matter.
So even though you think that I've got all this information, you still don't really have that trust. And we've worked together a long time. I'm hurt by that.
Yeah. I haven't got an answer for that.
I guess that's the perfect time to bring Mr. Sean Kay in for, is it headlines or hashtag AskAFP? That microphone sounds about as good as Tottenham's chances to win the Premier League.
We've gone 2 hours. Please leave off Tottenham. But we're going to go straight to AskAFP, just because we're running a little bit short on time. So we're going to...
Yeah, they told me I was on at 8:30. My parking ran out like 2 hours ago out there. My car's going to have been towed away.
Stevie will take care
of it. It
is.
You are very late for now. Yeah. Wow, lights are on.
But I'm going to announce the 5 that will have the questions, and thanks to the CPL, we will be giving them 2 tickets to the inaugural match. So we have Nathan, if you can come up and ask your question, followed by Ivan, and then Rowan Massey, and then Trevor Ellis, and Sonia.
Let's go. Nathan.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Nath.
How you guys doing? My question is, who do you think has had the more impressive season or the better season, depending on how you want to look at it, Eden Hazard or Jadon Sancho?
Jadon Sancho for me, no question about that. I think the development in an 18-year-old and going to a different league, a different climate, and the way that he's settled into, the team that are at the top of the Bundesliga, I think has been really impressive. And while we don't cover the Bundesliga on a regular basis, what I've seen from him is he's been absolutely outstanding. And he has something a little bit different. When we had Carm up here earlier, we were talking about that creativity and that's something special when it comes to the last third. And this lad has it. And, obviously Hazard's there. He's one of the world's best players. But Sancho has been very exciting for me. And I think because he's 18 years old, the development that can still come is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got people like Michael Zorc from Dortmund saying that now they're scouting English talent better than the German talent at that age, then I'm like, what world are we living in? It's weird for an Englishman to hear that stuff. But yeah, it's been great for them. I will say that Hazard remains, for me, one of the most underappreciated, underrated players in world football. I think he's absolutely marvellous. People want a little bit more out of him, but maybe they'll get that when he goes to a real proper team like Real Madrid and plays with real world-class players, because he's not playing with many now. So, Luke, your opinion?
Neither of them would get anywhere near the Sheffield United first team. We're just too good.
It's 2019, not 1992.
Sancho or Hazard?
Sancho or Hazard?
I haven't seen enough of Sancho.
Right.
I can't just.
Have you seen enough of Hazard? Do you know his first name?
Barry.
Right.
Harry Hazard. Harry Hazard.
Yeah. Harry Hazard. A quick story about Hazard. This is how, I'm driving home the other night in a snowstorm, and I've got Waze on, and they keep saying Hazard warning ahead. And I keep thinking about him. I just did the Chelsea game, and all I keep thinking is Eden Hazard. So every time I hear the word, that's how good he is. He's in my mind all the time.
Should be Chelsea warning ahead. Hazard's going to leave in the summer.
That's true. Good point. Next question.
All right, guys, how you doing?
Hi.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I didn't have that many characters, so I'll do my best here. So after the Panama debacle, does TFC intend to compete for the MLS Cup this season, or are they officially rebuilding at this point? If so, how do perennial prospects like Morgan, Chapman, Telfer, Endo, Hamilton, some players who maybe were released at the end of last season, didn't really find a team for a period, have been re-signed again, how do they fit into the team now?
You got that in 280 characters? That's impressive.
I had to add a little bit.
That's good.
Absolutely. I would say they wouldn't consider themselves rebuilding, and they think that they can win MLS Cup. I think that the fact that sooner or later, there was going to be some kind of transition, because the 3 DPs were all coming up out of contract at the end of the season. Like you said today, Josie's now the face of the franchise right now. They've given him the keys to the car for the next 4 years. We wait and see what happens with Michael Bradley at the end of this year. But right now, they've lost Giovinco, they've lost Vasquez, Pozzuelo comes in. But they've still got that core, even though they've lost Giovinco, who was a huge part. It'll be interesting to see, just because the Panama away performance shocked me. I didn't expect that at all. They were more like themselves a little bit first half on Tuesday night, but I still think they're a long way from where they need to be if they're going to be challenging at the end of the season. As for some of those prospects, I don't know that they're suddenly going to get a chance in the first team, do you? Like the likes of an Endo or a Chapman, or they're always going to be those squad players who are coming in when it, like...
Well, they can't win MLS Cup with the guys being regular in the 11, I don't think. I think that's... No disrespect to I can't remember all the players, but if they're going to ask to me, that's their squad, that's their backup, and everybody's important when you win things, and so the guys are going to have to play meaningful minutes. But if you're relying on the guys to play week in, week out, which is something that happened a little bit last season, then problems are going to occur. I agree with you, Luke, that it's clear they're in some kind of rebuild, but when you're Toronto FC and you spend the considerable money that MLSE do on this football team to try and win everything that they're in, then there's never a true rebuild. You're expected to succeed. playoffs at least, latter rounds of the conference. But I'm just not certain, and we don't know who else is going to come in, but I'm not certain that at this moment they've got enough quality and enough cohesion to win MLS Cup.
And I'm just thinking, without knowing what Greg Vanney's going to do, there will probably only be on Saturday for the first league game 2 players that weren't around last season, 3 maybe. But it's most of that team that played last year is still there.
Yeah, and that might be a bit of one of the reasons why there's still a problem, because I think they would openly admit that they need to get better and they need to find the recruits. They've got to bring the fear factor back, and what I mean by that is in from their opponents. And right now, the fact is that the opponents won't fear Toronto FC. They just won't. It wasn't that long ago where an MLS coach told me that playing Toronto FC was like showing up to a gunfight with a knife. The TFC have got the knife now. You know what I mean? They need to they got to get those guys back. They got to find a way to be quality every single week and get that back. And it's a pivotal year for them. Pivotal year for a lot of people within that squad. But right now, you listen to the previews. You read the previews all week. The MLS Cup contenders, the teams that everyone's looking at, doing them things the right way. TFC are not mentioned.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Hi.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. You look a little nervous.
Can't actually see anything.
Oh.
I can't.
Okay, well, I'm just going to read my question then. 1 second. What are your detailed, thought-provoking, and well-researched thoughts on Udinese?
Luke can answer that.
For the record,
Sure, he's seen them play every week this season.
It's been 3 hours and not a single Serie A in a positive light discussion. So
well, we've covered a lot of stuff.
Funnily enough, because this right, Dave Bassett, right?
Haven't we had enough of Dave Bassett?
No. The first ever interview I did with a manager was Dave Bassett when I started working in Sheffield. There was this, I still don't know why it was introduced, or it didn't last very long.
Strangest tournament ever, wasn't it?
The Anglo-Italian Cup.
Oh, it was
and
weird.
I don't know how teams got in it and how they were picked, but Sheffield United were playing against Udinese at Bramall Lane. And I had to go on interview, because nobody else could be bothered with this tournament. They sent me as the 16-year-old kid to go and interview Dave Bassett about this game.
Did you give him his rock?
And to be honest, I've not seen Udinese since. So
I covered Udinese a lot when I did the Serie A and Score, and keep an eye on them. I mean, obviously Alexis Sanchez used to play there, and we watched a lot of Serie A to this day.
Yeah.
Champions League teams and good teams, and that's why we can't talk about Udinese.
They're not doing too well. I don't know the position exactly, but they're down near the bottom. I've actually been watching quite a bit of Serie A this season.
It's great at the top.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously Juventus are the best team, and everybody knows about them, but Sampdoria are a pretty good team. But we often talk about
Atalanta.
Very good side.
Yep.
We talk about Serie A needing the 2 Milan clubs back, really back to what they were. And,
we talked about Piatek last week.
Well, we
on
talked
the show.
about Piatek on our last podcast, didn't we? And there's some exciting things going on there at Milan. Hopefully they're AC Milan. I mean, hopefully they're getting somewhere back to it. And who knows what's going to happen at Inter. Obviously the rumours of Mourinho coming back in the summer are still kind of there. But Serie A is better with 2 strong Milan teams competing with Juventus and Roma, and hopefully for Sonia's case, Udinese, but I don't think that's coming soon.
To be fair, I joke about Udinese not watching them, but remember when in England you could only watch English football, and then all of a sudden on Channel 4 on a Sunday afternoon they started doing, James Richardson would host.
I loved it.
Zeta Football Italia.
I was a teenager, and I wrote to all 18 Italian Serie A teams. I got one response back.
It was amazing.
Sampdoria.
Sampdoria?
It was my team, Sampdoria. David Platt.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, that was the time when English football wasn't live on TV anymore. So as well, they were able to take advantage of the market. But no, I mean, Juventus obviously dominating the league, even though they got smashed by Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. We have an associate producer who works with us, Joe Del Busso, who's an obsessive Juventus fan who was obsessed about this tie and told us they were going to beat Atletico Madrid. And they lost 2-0. It should have been 3. So
yeah, they were comfortably beaten on the night.
Yeah.
I think
by an outstanding Atletico team.
Yeah, but the lack of competition that they have in Serie A maybe cost them a little bit. They weren't up to a level it's a horrible place to go as a visiting player. But
Ronaldo didn't mind because he just walked through the mix zone afterwards and said everyone he's got 5 and you've got none. So
it's ridiculous, wasn't it?
I thought you might like that.
I did not like that at all. For the record.
Any other questions, Shawnee?
We got 2 left.
Hey guys, just with all that talk about Udinese and Serie A, I grew up watching soccer here, so a few games from the PL and a few games from Serie A. Has me thinking about watching Bologna versus Atalanta and Lazio versus Milan, and interesting stadiums. So my question is, I've changed it, Sean. Sorry. My question is there a stadium that you think is that you really love to see a game there, or you have seen a game there, or even if you've played there? Top stadium, maybe not the Bernabeu, but something that's a hipster choice, sort of.
Hipster.
Well, he's the hipster out of the 3 of us, isn't he, Steve?
If I had one more game, I'd play at St James's Park, and that's probably an emotional choice, but it's a wonderful place to play. It really is. And
we were all singing the song this week.
Yeah, it's
Local Hero.
Yeah, Local Hero, the tune that you walk out the tunnel to, and we were telling Joe about the Blading Races and the song that they've sang for a number of years, and I've been fortunate enough to play there a few times, and it was so loud sometimes, Luke. Honestly, I remember playing against Sunderland there, and you're screaming at a guy 7-8 yards away, and unless he was sort of looking at your face and reading your lips, he couldn't hear you. It can just get brilliant inside that stadium. And lately, we touched on it a bit earlier with Almiron, we're starting to see a long way away from the glory days, but the atmosphere, the sort of energy back inside that stadium, and the Premier League will be better if there's a strong Newcastle there. So hopefully Mike Ashley packs his bags, he gets out, and they get somebody in there that the fans deserve, get some real investment in, get some talent to play alongside Miguel Almiron and and the quality players that they have, and get Newcastle somewhere near the top.
As a visiting radio guy, I used to love going to Villa Park because it usually meant the team I was covering was going to win.
It's another good one, Villa Park, though.
Hey.
At least you got to watch your football in a proper ground. Bramall Lane's a cricket ground. And you know it is. It was a cricket ground to start with. You took a cricket ground.
I don't think I've ever lost at Bramall Lane.
No. And you beat them in the final.
I heard you, by the way, talking about earlier on about Burnley playoff final, all of that garbage.
Were you here?
He's got one story half the time.
It's a great story, though, isn't it, mate? He lifted a cup at Wembley. It's a great story. Let's be honest.
On the stadiums, of the ones I've been lucky enough to go to, there's nothing can match calling a game at Anfield when they come out and everybody sings "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Yeah, it's incredible. Like a couple of years ago.
We were there 2 years ago for Chelsea, Liverpool.
In the world of football, nothing like that I've seen can match that. And they also did an incredible, if it was an early kickoff for like Sky Sports moved it, went there a few times when I was working with Leeds, and the breakfast buffet in the press room was just like exceptional.
You do currently rank MLS teams by their buffets.
Yeah.
Because we went to MLS Cup, you and I. Sorry to interrupt your story.
The Peach Cobbler?
We went to MLS Cup in Atlanta, and the buffet was tremendous. And the first thought you had was, wait till I tell Stevie about the buffet.
Not this 70,000 Mercedes-Benz incredible stadium like it was the buffet.
The buffet was tremendous.
Well, we go to Yankee Stadium. And it's the worst place
the
to
ice
call
cream
a game.
machine?
It's the worst place to call a game. We're on it's a baseball diamond, and you can barely see the far side, and we're moaning about that. And then we have to go back, and we're thinking about it, and we're moaning to each other, and then we go,
have you got your meal
remember the
ticket?
buffet? And then we get excited because it's just the best spread, isn't it? It's everything.
But you liked Arsenal's spread too, you told me once.
There were a few good ones
Emirates
in the Premier League.
Yeah.
The other, talking about, I don't know if it's hipster, I'm not hipster, so I don't know if it's a hipster choice, but two other stadiums I want to mention. One is I worked for 3 years covering Leeds United, and Ellen Road, although it's not a modern stadium, like when that's full, when some of those European nights there, the fans are... I actually covered Leeds when Stevie got them relegated out of the Premier League, and they've been out ever since. Haven't they?
Yeah, they have, unfortunately, but they're coming back this year at Sheffield United's expense.
And the other one is I grew up in a place called Dronfield, which is 10 miles outside Sheffield. And the oldest football club in the world is Sheffield FC. And their stadium was walking distance from my house. And they have a wall outside where you can become a member of Sheffield FC, and there's Sepp Blatter, Svengo, and all these names that are from the world of football who pay to be on the wall of the oldest football club in the world. And they play non-league now. But just to be able to go there and you just sense the history, and you see all the pictures of where they came from in, I think it was 1857, I might be wrong. But
I won't tell you, you won't believe me. So.
But that's just somewhere where it's nothing now. It's just it's
a great story.
A few seats behind the goal, that most of it's standing around the side of the pitch, but they've just got this one wall with these pictures with all. Go on.
I'm just it's fine.
No, I'm yours, KJ.
No,
I'm done.
I'm not talking about Sheffield anymore. I'm just trying to think away from England. We're fortunate to have done so many in England, and you played in so many, and I've covered so many, and Luke as well. I mean, I'm obsessed with La Liga, so any stadium in La Liga is fine with me. Dortmund. I went to Dortmund in the 2006 World Cup and watched a World Cup game there in the famous end, but I've never been there for a Dortmund game, and I've got friends in there. They're like, you've got to come here to watch that. So that's a good shout. There's so many in South America, like River Plate, Boca Juniors. Those places look absolutely magnificent. I was in the Azteca for the Champions League game against Toronto FC, which was an incredible experience just because of somebody who cares so much about history and also within football history. We came out the day before, and there's so many stories, we're running out of time, but we actually had to get a police escort. I was with the team. We had to get a police escort to the stadium when we were in Mexico. I was there for the Guadalajara final and obviously for the Club America semi-final. And when we get to Azteca, you walk down the entranceway, you walk around this long tunnel, and it takes forever. And they've got the posters up of every single team that's ever played there. So you're already feeling the history. Then you walk out to the tunnel, and it's exactly the same it was in 1986. I was like a fan. I could remember that Maradona walked out and the England team would walk out in 1986 in the handball game, exactly what it was, up the ramp, and that's exactly the same way that TFC did. The TFC team walked that same way. So that was a marvelous experience as well to go to that stadium. But yeah, there's just so many. It's a great question. Thank you.
We're done, folks.
We're done? We're done. Okay, well, thanks for listening to our football podcast. Thanks for Luke Wileman for joining us and sticking around for the
This must be the longest. This is like 4 podcasts in one, no? I know you guys can
We're going to edit you out, Luke.
We don't need to do that. No one's going to make it to the end. So it's fine. Well, you're like that. We said last week to you, did you listen to our podcast? Yeah, I listened to the start.
Clay just said,
shout out to Clay, by the way,
he
and
said
Dylan
you only
and
have
Sean.
to listen to 60 seconds because that then gets you the number on whatever it is, the ratings.
You're not doing it for us.
Hey?
Don't pretend you're doing it for us. You're doing it for yourself to listen out to find out. But you do. There is a Wileman mention every week, and then we just had another one, so we've ticked the box. Thanks to all our guests. It's been a great show. Thanks for everybody to come in, and we really appreciate it. We hope you had a great time. Let us know. And you've been listening to our football podcast. Thanks to Sean. Thanks to Dylan. Thanks for Clay. They're the brains behind this operation. We're just a couple of numpties up here with microphones. Yeah. They do everything else, so thanks to them as well. We will be back on Saturday night for a feast of games that we'll be looking through. And I mean a feast. And you've got, obviously, the North London derby. Man United are playing, Manchester City are playing. Then you've got Toronto FC at 1 o'clock, La Liga, El Clasico, the Whitecaps at 6. We're going to break them all down for you on our 15th hour of the day on Saturday. So we'll join you then. And once again, thanks for listening and thanks for coming.
Thank you.